this Holy Ghost just falls now to honor you, Lord, to acknowledge how great of a God you are, Lord, to allow us this opportunity to be a part of this village, to be a part of this country. Just pray, Lord, the thoughts and actions, words that say tonight will be honorable to you. Just pray in Jesus' name.
So the first thing on our agenda is public comment. Is anybody here speaking for public comment? All right, and we can pass on by. Next is additions, deletions, and adoption of the agenda. I would like to add as item 8, and I'm sorry, John. I guess we could do it as, I'm sorry, John. As item 8, we're going to have to add a closed session to talk about, we're actually going to need two closed sessions. Maybe item 8 will be, or item 7B could be closed session code enforcement. And then we could have item 7B, closed session to get legal advice.
Do we need to go into closed session twice?
Technically, yes.
Okay. So first one will be code enforcement, second will be legal advice. And then, so if y'all are okay, maybe we need to have a realistic on time. If you'd be okay taking items 9 and 10, sorry guys, November.
What are we doing with 9 and 10?
Can we just move them to the November council agenda?
Oh, okay. Okay. And do we also need a item for the DOT?
All right, and then do we need George for that?
I don't think so. I don't know.
All right, so we'll put it as 8B, DOT. Or we can make it number 9 now, DOT.
Okay.
All right, anybody else have changes? Or additions or deletions?
Yeah. Thank you.
So John, we'll try to keep our closed session short.
Okay, until evening, available.
Okay. All right, we'll go have a motion to adopt our agenda. Motion to adopt the agenda as presented. You got a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right. That takes us to our consent agenda. Just for, I'll put it in discussion. So I'm motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'm going to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, and for discussion, I'm sorry we don't have it to you yet, but hopefully tomorrow I will have to you the proposed personnel policy. Cheryl Brown from the MAPS group will be drawing down to present it. We have some feedback from George. We had to get into the policy. But hopefully I'll have that to you all tomorrow to review before next Monday. Okay. All in favor? Cheryl, you're up.
Wow. Okay. First off, the second CARES report is due this week. I have it ready. We didn't have any expenditures in the month of September, which is the time period it covered. I have ordered some things, and one of the items came in already, but we haven't paid for them yet. We did get money from CARES for the expenditures from last year that was received. So that's going smoothly. Okay, as far as the budget report, we're starting to get in property taxes. We're at 7%. We are doing pretty good with zoning permits. They seem to have picked up somewhat. So that's encouraging. And as far as expenditures, we do have the issue of the telephones. And we've signed the contracts, the phones are back working, and we have a maintenance contract, so I do need a budget amendment to move $2,600 into electronic communications from contingency.
A motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Do we get our username and password?
No, I can call them now. I just got the checkout. You signed it Friday, right? So,
Yeah, so hopefully I'll take it.
yeah.
What is the $2,600 total?
To reinstate our license, and there's some terminology that they have a Mitel assurance, and I don't know what that is, and for the annual maintenance contract,
And so how much should we expect next year to have to pay?
$1,000.
Cheryl, our outgoing message when you call in does not give a extension to Amy. Can that be fixed?
Yeah, we could not fix it before this. Yes, it will be.
So we're hoping they'll give us the username and password. I'll take it after.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Because we've currently used to not have that. There's no understanding of like how that was fixed there. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Anything else, Cheryl?
Okay. Let's see. We have had some expenses from Bonnie for comprehensive plan services. We spent $1,816. There's like 3 maps or whatever that they did for us. And I just got a bill from her. I haven't looked at it real closely, and it had some more expenditures on it. The tree services, we paid to have the 4 trees taken down. And we did make the payment on the playground, and there's still one more final payment yet to be made.
What percentage of that, Cheryl, is that of the total?
Well, it was split into 2 years, so basically we've paid for 3/4 of it.
Okay.
And that's all.
Cheryl, one last thing I don't know if this would be the right place for it. It's on our website today, and there's still a lot of stuff that references contact Robin Byer, explaining the zoning, blah, blah, blah. Can you go through our webpage and find spots where that's mentioned and change that to reflect, or at least take Robin's name off there? And put something else?
I have taken her name off. Where did you notice that?
Right now I'm looking at something under the COVID-19 information that says administrative, no, it says planning and zoning code enforcement, Robin Byers, and get your email address.
Okay, I'll go to that page and check it.
All right.
Sure. I thought I had her off, but yeah.
Anything else for Cheryl?
This is just that one spot, Mike, that you saw?
I didn't really look that deep, but I was looking at the COVID-19 information and I saw Robin's name. I'm like, oh, we get fixed up.
Anything else for Cheryl? All right. Planning board?
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to give you a report on our last planning board meeting, and you can update on the next one. I don't have that yet, so maybe we'll talk about that more a little bit. So our last planning board meeting was 2 weeks ago. Mr. Como had to be there, so it was great. Thank you for coming with it, or coming to our meeting. We talked about the R40A that was passed, so everyone was happy to see that. If anything, we're all on the same page. Right, so I think it was a really good test to see, it was a unanimous suggestion from the planning board, unanimous vote with you guys, our 40A zoning ordinance, so that was fantastic. It was well received from the planning board as well, when you guys all voted for it, so thank you. And we also talked with Mike about the land use plan, talked about the planner, so it was a good talk, thank you our agenda was the tree save ordinance. So we're continuing to work on that. I want to give you guys just some high-level ideas of what we're researching right now, just to make sure that you guys, it sounds right to you. If it doesn't, maybe we can talk about it a little bit, or contact Deb, maybe talk to her directly. She's actually kind of chairing up the offering of this. But some of the things we're looking at is, one of the things is, applicability. Where is this tree save ordinance going to apply? Right now, we're writing it towards all major subdivisions, which is any residential subdivision that's more than 3 lots, or more than 6 acres. So that would be considered a minor subdivision. So anything greater than 3 houses or 6 acres of a subdivision would require to follow this ordinance that we're looking at, as well as any other type of non-residential development. So that's still something we're working through. What does a non-residential development look like? And I was bringing up a church. That's non-residential development. Is this something that should apply to that? So in Windsor, that was redone. So does that apply to it? If someone wants to put a barn on their field, that's a non-residential development they have to get a permit for. So we're trying to understand, do we just say all major subdivisions and non-residential developments? Or maybe perhaps we specify what the non-residential developments are, maybe zones? So we're still trying to figure that out as well. Any feedback from you guys? Where you think this might apply?
John, question. I know you said major subdivisions, not minor subdivisions. What would prevent someone from saying, okay, I've got 6 acres of woods, I just want to clear cut it all and build 3 houses?
Someone has 6 acres and clear cuts it and build 1 house?
3 houses.
3, so that'd be a minor subdivision. They come in, they fill out, I think I have to sign off on it. I think the mayor signs off on it to make a minor subdivision.
Right, but I guess the question is, why would the tree save ordinance not apply in a minor subdivision?
So one of the reasons why we talked about we don't like that is the next thing I was getting into was part of this ordinance we're writing into right now requires a minimum of 30% of that lot to be tree saved, which means it can't be on anyone's individual lot, as well as if it's not treed already, they have to plant trees. So if someone came in and either clear cut 6 acres or maybe didn't have any trees on at all, and they wanted to subdivide that to 3 and this would apply to them, they would have to dedicate 30% of that, which is about 2 acres. They have to dedicate 2 acres to their subdivision, those 3 people. They have to appoint somebody to be in charge of it. They have to submit all the records. Over the years, we have to have bonds, I think we talked about. There's a lot of things that apply to that. And as we talked about it, we're like, does that really make sense? If someone wants to take, and the majority of these minor subdivisions that we're seeing are usually families, right? Someone says, hey, I got 6 acres, I want to give a piece of my daughter, a piece of my son, or something like that. So they subdivide it. It makes sense for them to have common space that's also deeded to all 3, follow all these rules and procedures for 2 acres of trees.
I know there's a difference between use and abuse for some of our ordinances, and we just want to make sure we're not creating a loophole. But that could be abused sometime in the future.
What's interesting, when we were talking, what they said was, when we talked to our tree expert, his name is Mr. Bill Rodriguez? No, Ortiz. No.
Smith.
One of those, it was Bill Smith. Thank you, Bill Smith. For instance, he was saying, one of the big things about R40 is, say the R40 was clear cut, they're going to come in, they're going to plant trees, they're going to let all that area grow up. So in a lot of these, we can look at minor subdivisions that we have now, right? The ones that someone had substantial amount of acreage, split it into 3, give, one to their son, maybe they sold off another one. You go back and look at that, there's a lot of trees that have grown up in those minor subdivisions on their own.
And the other piece of it is, say you have on a random street, like over your area where there's probably more of that potential, right? And then somebody wants to come in and buy parcels for multiple owners to put in a subdivision. So maybe it's a minor subdivision, it wouldn't apply, but once they put all those parcels in to be a major subdivision, then it's going to apply.
Correct.
So there's another way to kind of.
Absolutely. Anything over 6 acres, or anything over 3 houses or 6 acres, and 6 acres, or 6, would qualify for this sort of claim. So does that sound right to you guys? Does that sound that we should not be enforcing this tree save ordinance on less than 6 acres of free home subdivision.
Creating that HOA, and it's just, that seems like a bit much.
And the homeowner subdivision there, like you said, is for families generally to pass it off to the children or whatever. So I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
I know it's a complicated subject, you guys have been working on it for more than a little while.
It is. I mean, when you start talking about how do you enforce it, you're looking forward, how does it maintain forward, how do you look back and years behind you?
And the hardest part is how do you write it so that when residents read our ordinances, it makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it seems right to apply this, at least to us, it seems right to apply this to developers, not to an individual person building a home, or like I said, subdividing for their son or daughter. This makes sense for a developer who's bringing in money, who's building roads, who's doing all the, it's a pretty big cost to clear that. And then put in all the infrastructure. Well, they're the ones who this seems to make more sense for.
And I mean, the time when it was abused, that we know of, it wasn't for a subdivision, was it?
And for the non-residential, I don't think they should get away with clear cutting and not having any trees. I mean, there needs to be something, right? And I realize that it's more complicated, but we got to make sure that you can get in and out of whatever that development might be, that you have good visibility and everything else. We know that limits some of the pieces, but I don't think we should exclude them. I think there should be something. I'm not recreational blood, but it just seems like there should be something that they would have to do in regards to trees.
You're saying for non-residential uses?
Yeah. I feel like you put in a shopping center here, and we got trees in the medians, we got trees on the edges, right? I mean, I don't object to them if they keep trees in the middle, if they die, they replace them, kind of thing. To me, those are trees, they're trying to help the canopy.
Well, that's one thing we were discussing, and I was bringing up. Right now, it's just non-residential developments. What's that mean? Is that a church? Yeah, technically it is. Is that someone puts a barn on their field? Well, technically it is. I'm like, wait a second. Does that mean someone's put a barn on their cornfield? That they now have to plant 30% of trees and hire arborists and do all this? Is that really what we're trying to do here?
Most people would put barns on their property where they already have the house as their primary residence, and barn would be an additional structure. So their parcel wouldn't apply to tree save, but not.
Well, that would be a non-residential development because they have to get a permit for a non-residential structure.
But it's a residential lot, sorry.
Well, so is R40 subdivision.
Yeah, I know, that's where I'm starting. I'm just saying that's.
Well, that's what they were talking about. Does it belong in zoning, for instance? So if we said everything is B1, B2, and OI, this applies to. That's non-residential, right? Maybe that makes sense. So that's what I'm trying to say is we're trying to work through all the weeds so that you don't have a lot of people come back and saying, wait a second, I'm just putting in, a telephone pole. Do I need to develop, an HOA because of that? No, maybe that doesn't make sense. But you did it for that guy. You didn't do it for that guy. So what I'm really trying to, that's what we're spending a lot of time focusing on. It's not so much the what is, but we're adding new, I don't want to say new ordinances, but we're saying non-residential has to follow tree safety. So it's never there. We're saying you have to plant 30%.
You should use the term non-residential.
Right. Well, we want
It
it.
should be more specific.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to work with.
I'm sure other places.
I'm sorry?
I'm sure we don't have to read it as well. I'm sure Ron might have some other places that have successfully encouraged trees in
There are definitely ways to do it. And my opinion is that I think most people are making sure that new major subdivisions of all kinds, no matter what the end result is, that they deserve, that they meet the goal. And then if there's some details like how to apply it to pre-existing lots, a couple acres here, a couple acres there that are zoned commercial, maybe undeveloped, maybe redeveloped, then that might be something that we can work on further, and that would be more appropriately done through the zoning ordinance than in the subdivision ordinance. And that's one of the things we talked about at the meeting is, which regulation is appropriate in which place, based on the type of outcome or development that's going on, and what kind of outcome you want to get from it. But I think that your planning board is probably almost there in terms of how it would be applied to new major residential subdivisions, especially, and could be pretty close on that. And if something like the development of isolated commercial properties is a sticking point this time, I would probably think going ahead with the more important thing. Because there's going to be major residential subdivisions coming out. I think waiting could hamper.
Especially when we know somebody's already interested.
Let me ask this question, John. Does it make more sense to put what we have now in place, knowing that we have to tweak a little bit to make it perfect? Or is it better to wait a few more months, knowing that there might be some subdivisions that come in now that are going to work with the old system and maybe cause problems that we don't want to see?
I thought Lon just said we should do it sooner than later.
I think that what I'm saying is that I think the planning board is very close with what you have as far as its applicability to major subdivisions of all stripes. And there's a desire to extend that same kind of regulation into other circumstances, then maybe that could be a subsequent point of discussion with the planning board, so that those details that are not less important, but maybe not as immediately important, can be worked out.
So the question still stands. Does it make more sense to put a flawed system in place right now that handles most of what we're talking about, or wait another 2-3 months until we have something that is perfect, put it in place, and then we risk having a subdivision coming in the interim that does things we don't want to do?
Well, how long do you think it's going to take you? Month if close?
This is October. We have one more month in November, and then we don't meet in December.
Yeah,
So
maybe that's-
my thought is probably best case scenario, we vote on something sending in January.
I would like to see something sooner, because we're never going to be perfect. And I would rather get something out there that addresses subdivisions, because it's something that's not up 2 years at least, and get something out there for these ones that we know are coming down the pipe, and then say, okay, we'll focus on subdivisions, and then we come back later for other stuff.
Yeah, I'd rather put something in place, and if we have to make an exception here or an exception there, I'd rather do that than just work with the system we have now, which we know is completely flawed.
So I'd like to see something for council here.
I think I made good progress at the last meeting. And there really did seem to be a lot of sticking points beyond some tweaks to what was discussed, and then the whole applicability issue seemed to be the biggest issue in the evening. I think there was pretty good consensus on most everything else, but whatever your pleasure is, of course, what we'll do.
You do know how long you've been working on this, right?
Sure, but I'm not sure that we've been working with the right tools that Mike, but when was it, John, that you guys met for the first time with this deal? Wasn't it 3-4 months ago, maybe? It's been pretty recently.
It has been.
And at that meeting, the initial meeting, when Mike, you were there, he said that the tree ordinance that we had been working on was extremely complex and complicated. I think he was going to, probably not the right choice of words, but he was going to dumb it down a little bit in order to make it more friendly for anyone to understand it and interpret it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any gray areas in our ordinances when it comes to trees.
Yeah. Has that taken place? Has he sort of finessed the plan that we have?
Oh, he has, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting how much it morphs from month to month. And I mean, it feels like it's going in the right direction, which is why I'm concerned, because we can see next month something, written. I mean, there are clauses in here that we reviewed in our planning board meeting, like, that doesn't make sense. And you're right, take that completely out. I'm worried if we don't give it enough attention, we're going to see a rewrite and miss something that just doesn't make sense at all. So we're trying to get something perfect. I mean, it doesn't feel right to have something like this with all the time and attention that's been devoted to it. It's not perfect, but I say the word perfect.
Let a big subdivision come in without those.
Well, we do have a tree save ordinance now that they would fall.
Whatever.
And this for a subdivision isn't a huge stretch. I mean, it's not an enormous stretch from what they have now, right? They already have to come with the big trees that we call those, the heritage trees, right? There's already a percentage of tree save area they have to have, mitigation. So there's already a lot of things that have to do in our tree save ordinance as it is today.
And we did add that resolution that I can't put it on individual lots, which saved us
Exactly.
a lot of space.
So there's not a lot. I don't know what I'm trying to say is what we have more proposing here. I don't think it's a major. I don't see it as any huge risk on development coming in the next few months that would have to use that one on this one. I mean, is there potential for them to abuse it? Potential's there, but I feel like it's still risk. But that being said, we're going to put a lot of attention towards this. I mean, we spent the whole planning board meeting on it, covered a lot on it 2 weeks ago. It's on our agenda. I know it'll be on our agenda again on the next one. So if we can get through the next agenda with understanding our updates, I would assume then it would go to you, Vaughn, for you to write it up correctly and propose it to us at our next meeting, which would be January.
Well, we're on the schedule.
Yeah, I mean that's the fastest we can do if we hand it off to him after our next meeting.
So, well, your next meeting is in October, and then you do have
I
November.
apologize, you're right. I was getting ahead of myself. So it is
The
possible.
year's going fast enough.
I think, you know, with the progress that was made at the last meeting, that there could be something pretty darn close.
Yeah. Well, so from an overhead, though, you guys understand, we're talking about all major subdivisions, some form of non-residential development, which I think we're discussed, right? Minimum of 30%, either saved or replanted or devoted on non-buildable area, right? That has to be maintained. And one of the things I brought up in the meeting was, I just want to make sure as we go through this, that we're not sacrificing any common open land. Because if you say 30% has to be trees, what, 18, 20% or so is infrastructure, right? You're only left 50% of the area for buildable lots. So I doubt a developer is going to develop something and not develop all that 50% of the area to develop lots. That's what we're going to make money on. So does the sacrifice mean that there's no open areas to throw frisbee or, or just have open, area that would be like, you look around some of these subdivisions, we talked about that, right? And there's a couple subdivisions here that have large open lawns, areas for kids to play, just for the optics and cosmetic of it, and have open area, maybe plant flowers, what have you. So is that a sacrifice we're having to this? Just want you guys to understand, must have 30% trees. It's up to the developer if they want to add any extra open land to sacrifice homes. And that's, all right. You guys have anything between now and our next planning board meeting? Probably best is to go straight to Deb. She understands it very well. She's working on it almost on a daily basis. So anything you guys have, contact her directly or show up to our planning board meeting. 2 weeks.
I'm planning to be at the planning board meeting because I'm not attending one this year, so
Awesome.
we have 2 chances left.
So that's all I have. Vaughn, I think you were saying that we might have a big agenda on our next meeting.
There will be one item, there'll be the public information meeting for a while power on Newtown Road, or 1200.
Is that a quasi-judicial?
Yeah.
It will be when it comes to you.
Okay, just,
Yeah, but with the planning board, it's a public information meeting, so there's no testimonial evidence.
so will Lori and I be able to attend, I guess is the question.
I would.
I figured I had to step out.
Okay, so excuse yourself.
And I've been trying to attend a planning board meeting and work keeps getting in the way. So my time, you're going to have to sit down. I've been trying, I was trying to go last month and got called in last night. But I have asked for money and I called, so hopefully that'll happen.
Just be, the two of you guys be aware that if we're in the audience and it comes up, just tell us to step into the conference room or whatever.
Sounds good.
We've done that before.
Nothing else on the agenda that you're doing?
There will be in November. This is what's called now McCoy Farms. It was Carolyn Farms. They submitted their preliminary plat about a week ago or so, and so subdivision modification, a conditional use permit, and a preliminary plat. All
And November.
in
And they know, make sure that they know if we don't approve it, then it won't be up till our January meeting.
that
Which we have to look that up, because I think they're given 60 days. I think.
you have some time to rule on, you have different amounts of time to make decisions on different things.
Right.
So
We'll look for a direction if we
we'll make sure you have all that information. So the conditional use permit, it will just be the public information meeting. You can make some statement to the council, as well as the subdivision modification, essentially. It's a preliminary plat, that would be standard subdivision procedure. And, you know, it's a very complicated set of items right now that make sense all happening together, but it's unfortunate they all have to happen together.
Gotcha.
The amount of information has to be prepared for each one is essentially the same amount of information, and so they're kind of going with all or nothing. Even the failure on one part would mean failure on the other.
Yeah, one other thing related to planning and zoning, and this happened before you came on, and I was talking to Robin about it just before she left, and it was kind of a moot point because I knew she was leaving. Would you look into the natural gas substation that was put in on Waxaw Indian Trail Road? And we specifically were told that there would be, in the fall, which is where we are now, screenings planted to block the visual of that natural gas substation. They have planted it, but about 30% of it has not been screened off at all. And would you look into finding out if they're done with their plantings and if we need to request more, or why would they do 70% and leave 30% unscreened at all? It seems a little odd.
I can actually have it right here. I will.
I don't expect you to have an answer for us tonight, obviously, but if you could look into it and then email the council that, yes, it's done, we have to live with what they have, or no, they're going to be planting some more trees and bushes, because I know visually screening that off was one of the conditions we had, and they have planted, but I don't think they planted enough compared to what they told us.
Right.
All right. Anything else, John?
That's all.
Ron, do you have anything planning to lay on us before we move into code enforcement?
Other note, did have a pre-application meeting with some folks interested in doing 87-acre subdivision, Newtown Road near Cuthbertson Road. They're waiting to see the outcome of the tree. The Five Stones Church had the TIA rejected by DOT, and have not heard back anything. So Jim King with Union County did send me, he said that the application for that subdivision side of the forest had been filed with the county, where the fuel line would be going across those properties in Wesley Chapel that are a relic of when the village allowed tree save area to be on individual properties. And we've had some communication with Lee, and I think just Lee maybe on that directly, and some folks with Public Works about what's going to be required. There are things in the ordinance about utilities being able to go through tree save areas, what they have to do. We will work with them as we move forward. The burden of replanting is kind of on both the utility as well as on the individual property owner there, unfortunately. So we'll have to make a decision on how that's we'll try and get the developer to do as much as we can.
Did they move your sewer lines at all?
I'm sorry.
Did they move the sewer lines at all? I know they were outside of
They're, from what he sent me, it's going in the same place it's proposed to go. So.
Review your plots when you buy your house.
Yeah.
All right, so that moves us into, anybody have any final questions for the code enforcement? And I don't know the best way to do code enforcement. I don't know if we should go into closed session to talk about all the issues that there were no problems with. any legal advice on?
I'm sorry.
That probably makes sense.
So we should go into closed session and talk about our code.
Potentially pending litigation, I would imagine, so.
So I would say, you know, the motion is to go into closed session to receive advice of counsel regarding code enforcement.
So motion. Second. All in favor?
See you guys.
Motion to come out of closed session. Do I have a second? Second.
Oh, grab Mike.
Lori, okay.
We only need a majority, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, all
Yeah.
in favor? Okay, and then I make a motion to approve the consent agreement to be sent to the homeowner and
Of,
the execution, the
yeah,
homeowner
of what address was that again? Of
1001 Mayflower?
1001 Mayflower and the execution thereof. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? All right, I make a motion to go into closed session for legal advice
regarding potential claims on the 2.63 acre parcel.
regarding potential claims on the 2.63 acre parcel in, right over there. In the village.
Second.
All in favor? John, this one will be quick.
Cheryl, I'm gonna leave these here.
Okay.
I have a digital copy of these.
Okay.
I'm actually take one of these with me, the other two here. I don't know. I haven't heard about this one yet, so I just need to.
Okay.
I didn't get anything email from either.
Okay. What is it even?
It's Cavison final plat.
Oh,
I just
okay.
need to figure out what's
Okay.
going on with it,
Okay.
so I'll take that one.
It's over on Shamwood, I think, yeah. Okay.
But I got all this Toy Farm stuff digital. And are you or Amy going to be here all day tomorrow?
Amy's here. Mhm.
Okay. Because the conditional use permit, the cell tower, the additional copies, they're going to be coming by FedEx.
Okay. And we need to do our agenda and, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Very good. Have a good evening.
I'll see you sometime this week, later this week, right?
Yeah,
Wednesday.
All in
So, last month's meeting, so I'm going to talk about, I'm also going to merge in the previous month's stuff that we didn't do to last council meeting. So,
Are we done with code enforcement?
Topic of discussion we had was that it's very likely before the next Parks and Rec meeting and before the next council meeting that the playground will be ready to go. The trees, as you instructed last council meeting, we got the 3 bids, we had the trees taken down, contractor was notified that the trees are now out of the way. As I advised on October the 1st, they were going to return to construction activities the end of last week, this week. That's what they did. They were there on Thursday. Last week they did finish the grading underneath the play equipment, and they now have the gravel in. They didn't come today because of the weather. I checked the level of all the gravel with a fancy new instrument I bought to measure the level. It's all beautiful. I love it. It was a good excuse to buy a new tool, so I'm like measuring the angle everywhere. It's great. So this week the plan is to do the concrete on the rail trail, get the PIP in, do the finish grading, put the fencing in receive the storm, should be done. They're hoping to do that by the end of this week. There will be several inspections along the way with Union County. I don't know how the name will be, that's between the contractor and Union County. As to the measurements you guys asked me to do, I kind of figured out a way, because what you're asking to measure is things that don't exist yet. So I figured out exactly what I can measure and when I measure it. So I identified and defined all those measurements, created a spreadsheet. I selected 15 different locations around the playground so I can identify that the rubber layer is compliant with the regulation. It's pretty much a linear relationship. This is from the ASTM 1292 certification for fall height versus what the thickness needs to be. So I can read off, like I don't have a measurement for 4.3 feet all height. I have it for 4 and 5, so I can use the slope to calculate what the thickness needs to be. And I will give council a whole spreadsheet showing 15 measurements of the thickness of the rubber layer.
John, have you been out there since the rain yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Did you see the little bit of washout?
I did. Don't know about it. I have no worries that they'll do what they need to do.
I didn't see any water in the French drain though.
I've got a video. I went out actually when it was raining.
You went out there, okay?
I went out with an umbrella in the rain with the video. I videoed the water coming out of the French drain. I got it in slow motion if you want to see it. So I videoed the drain functioning.
What I saw was mostly water. I saw the results today of mostly water sheeting across the top.
Yes, some did, and I noticed that too, and I talked to them. They do need, when the concrete goes in, right, and on the low side of where the gravel is, they need to put fill in. So what I've discussed with them is, on the uphill side, why don't you put a swale in above, and you bring some of the, when it's a real heavy rain like that, take some of it around, and the dirt you cut out of the swale, use for the fill dirt, so they don't have to truck so much fill dirt in. And in that way, it'll direct the water around. So yeah, I saw all that. I was there yesterday in the rain, and I was there this morning to have a look. So, looks like it could be finished by the end of the week. Not ready to open till it completes inspections, of course, but that shouldn't be too far behind. That means that between now and next council meeting, we'll be ready to open. So the question is council going to allow us to open or not? Now, to me, there are 3 options, and I'm ready for whichever one you guys decide to do. strictly complying with the rules, you're going to have to find a budget and hire somebody to periodically sanitize the equipment. I don't think that's going to happen. So option 2 would be, and we already have the signs, playground closed, put a lock on the gate. Option 3, install a sanitizer station that's going to be delivered any time outside the gate and put the sign that says playground equipment not sanitized, use at your own risk.
And I've actually
That-
done some
sorry?
research. I've actually done some research on the sanitizing stuff.
Okay, well, just let me finish and then we can share the research. Parks and Rec recommendation is option number 3. And I have canvassed every mother and grandparent, anybody with children I've seen in the park. I've asked them their opinion. And unanimous is option number 3. Put your sign up, hand sanitizer. And I think you looked at other cities, what other cities are doing.
Yeah, so I went on the governor's webpage and like the opening and the guidance for the parks and stuff, and I didn't see a must clean. And I called several other places. I talked to some people, and some people haven't called back yet. But when you printed out the guidance for administrators in parks and rec facilities, it says administrators of parks and recreation facilities can determine whether and how to implement these considerations, making adjustments to meet the unique needs and circumstances of the local community. Implementation should be guided what is safe, feasible, practical, and acceptable, and be tailored to the needs of each community. So, and it talks about it's kind of pointless to about disinfecting outdoor things and how it's kind of pointless. And the guy I talked to today at the National Park Service, he was like, they don't have a lot of stuff that they have to sanitize regularly because they don't have a lot of they don't have playgrounds and stuff. But he did talk about the concerns of what you're putting on there and how long it's staying, and children, like the research on children.
Yeah.
So
The reason I bring this topic up first is because the decision you make about open or not open then has consequences that you're going to have to address after that. So if you want to have a discussion about it and make that decision, then I'll go on to the other things. So if you want me to go on the other things first, then you come back to it.
So do we know what any of the other towns in Union County are doing? Or Union County?
buying fire and buying their stuff.
What's
Right.
this?
Right.
They're following stuff with this chemical that last time we heard was probably something we really didn't want.
That's what I interpreted from that group. I was been
We have a meeting, a Zoom meeting every Wednesday morning with the Parks and Rec municipalities. John's invited to the meeting but doesn't typically attend. All the other municipalities are doing some sort of cleaning, but they can't and will not justify and say, we clean on the hour, every hour, we clean daily, we clean every 4 hours. They just say they clean. It doesn't have to be, and you don't want it to be, I clean on this day and this amount and this. And I also looked at what, there was a discussion about what Disney does for their parks. Because if anybody knows how to keep something clean and do it, it's going to be Disney. They use a hydrogen peroxide and water mix and they just spray down the rides every hour, and then they run the roller coaster or whatever it is, one loop through without any people on it until it's dry, and then go.
And the opposite end of the spectrum, the city of Raleigh does absolutely nothing.
Right. So that's you either.
It's both ends of the entire
I just think it's
spectrum.
revenue from having clean rides. We get no revenue with
No, I
And I interpreted this as you do what you can and what you want to.
Right.
And I would say, put up a sign, put up signs. And I have 3 small children. Put up the sign, put up the sanitizer, and let's call it a day.
And let me just point out on the sanitizer, I've ordered them. Hasn't it been like 2 weeks? And I contacted them last week, and we still haven't gotten it. And she said she was checking with the manufacturer, and twice she's told me that. So I don't know if it'll be.
But even without the hand sanitizer, we can still post a sign that says use at your own risk.
And we have signs
The
like
hand
that.
sanitizer, when we put it in,
So-
it's just extra precautions and friendliness, I guess.
So it's council consensus then to proceed with the sign, don't worry about closing it, don't worry about the,
But I do think we need to reopen the bathrooms and have the weekly cleanings,
Okay.
which they're doing, right? But I think we need to reopen that.
We did.
alright, so going on the assumption we are gonna put signs up, as you know in the past, we've put signs up, they tear them up, throw them in the trash can. The only signs that have remained are the ones that have been locked behind plexiglass. So, on the agenda you see there's an item request for you guys to approve up to $1,000 for a notice board similar to the one we have by the parking lot. And that's included in that amount will be the bags of concrete. We'll self-install it with a post hole digger. And we'll put a notice board up outside the playground where we can post those signs locked up so they don't tear them up and throw them in the trash.
Is there money in the park budget to do it?
So there is not a, we didn't budget for that item, but there's an awful lot of unspent money in Parks and Rec. For example, we've got $15,000 left for events, which we haven't spent, and it's unlikely between now and the end of June we're going to spend $15,000. So I'd say at best we're going to get 2 events in, which would be $10,000. So you could perhaps move $5,000 out of there for other playground needs or something. That would be my suggestion.
And who's going to do a board for $1,000? Do we have a price or quote?
No, I've looked at the ones that are available. One like we've got, I think, is $650. Some are more expensive, some are cheaper.
I think it was more.
Concrete and notice board, we'll find one that fits the signs we have for less than $1,000. So I'm just asking, because I haven't researched every detail. Approve up to $1,000, and that'll cover us for a month. And of course, I'll aim to do it as cheap as I can.
Well, we want to achieve and still look good, because you work hard on that playground.
Yeah.
The only thing is I'd say is just consider, are there any other signs we think might need to be posted to make sure there's space?
Yeah, I mean, we have
Upcoming
talked about.
events or advertisements or anything.
We haven't thought about the text for the sign yet, but we were thinking perhaps some point down the road we're going to need a playground rules sign.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about before you got a case, that you're like, we might have a sign for this, or a sign for that, even though you don't know the words.
Right.
I think we might need this size instead of this size, that's all.
We were thinking we might, like we have a general parks rule sign, we might need a sign specific for the playground. We don't know what issues we're going to run into yet. But yeah, we'd have a COVID-related sign and a playground rule sign maybe at some point in the future. We're thinking one-sided signboard only. They see it when they're going into the playground, just the playground.
The one we purchased by the parking lot was $750 for the information board, plus, concrete to install. So $100,000 should be doable.
Yeah.
And
that
that
was
was longer, this would be about the same size.
Yeah, similar size, maybe a bit smaller, something like that.
All right. And you want to ask for your benches out of that money also?
Yeah. So the thought was, council had suggested we move the fence out, have a mulch area for some future benches. So we discussed it might be a good idea to put the benches in now, so when the kids start playing on it, the moms have somewhere to sit, or the grandparents have somewhere to sit. So the request is for 4 benches. We think we can do them cheaper than the contractor quoted by doing it ourselves, a self-install. The concrete in the ground benches, similar colour themes, steel, powder coated, and we self-install. Well, we're using the post hole digger to put the notice board in. We self-install the benches, unless we can get the contractor to do it.
Do you have the time and energy? I know you spend a lot of time out there.
Yeah.
Now, these,
We'll find help. I mean, Julie Thomas's husband, he's a general contractor. He volunteered his assistance to put the benches in. He even said he'd help us find a better deal than the contractor had quoted.
so, like,
6-foot benches
With the back, I'm assuming not, or just plain.
with the back, not so. A
Comfortable.
bit for your butt and a bit for your back. Well, they won't be comfortable because they're going to be cold steel benches.
No, it's more comfortable than that back.
Right.
Okay.
So, with a bench and a backrest. 4 of them to put in the ground, around 6 feet. We think we can probably do that for $2,500 or less.
And then you want to talk about the water fountain
Talk about what?
too? The water fountain? Would that be the same?
No, the water fountain, we've already been offered the donation. Parks and Rec at the meeting I did attend selected which model they want. They also selected the location, which is not to run a water line over to where the flag is, install it where the current standpipe is. Then we don't have to spend money running additional water lines that might get dug up in the future. It was a wild guess as to how much it would cost to install that fountain. Do you remember what the fountain cost, Mike? It was like $6,000, something like that?
It was a lot.
It was a lot. It's a very, very nice fountain. And they just wanted us to deal with the installation. So I'm just guessing, since the water line's already there, and it's just a matter of installing it, maybe a small concrete pad for it, $500 to install.
Are there, who's going to, like, we talked about cleaning the playground. Are we cleaning the water fountain? And can a water fountain be open right now?
Can the water fountain be?
Open right now? Because at some parts
Yeah.
it's closed off. Or would we wait until maybe it's
Probably not. I would imagine, since we've got nobody to clean it, we probably wouldn't want to do it. Have it open.
Could we wait till the spring to install it? Like, has it been ordered? Could we?
Yeah,
order it?
we can do anything you guys want. We could wait till the spring to install it. We can wait till November the 4th when COVID restrictions change. Yeah, there's no rush on it. I mean, they offered to donate that fountain over a year ago. So we just we'd like you to accept the donation of the fountain, first of all. And then the second part was approve the funds to install it. If you want to accept the donation of the fountain and defer the installation to the post-COVID era, everybody's fine with that, I think.
It just feels a little sketch right now to say, here's a new public water fountain.
Yeah.
But, wear your mask. I mean,
The only
I can't put in
advantage is,
something new and then say,
the only advantage is the fountain's going to have a hand washing station as well.
But it's also going to get cold soon, and so will this thing stay with water running to it year round, or will it get winterized?
They have an option of a frost-free one. But the manufacturers have given our location that that's probably not necessary. So they're recommending just a standard fountain.
So it won't freeze.
It's got like a place you can drink, a place you can fill water bottles, a place you can fill a dog bowl. Got a cold salad on the back. Sorry.
And a place to wash your hands?
It has the option. It would just
I
be,
thought it already been picked out.
no, it's just the dog bowl at the bottom, the drinking fountain at the top. But instead of having 2 drinking fountains, this one would be a hand washing station. There'd also be a connection for hose bib at the bottom. You can hook up a garden hose for food trucks or.
Well, I'm confused, because you said the Parks and Rec committee already picked out what they wanted.
It's
And
one
you
of the
said
options.
it had a bottle filler, and then you're showing me something different, so I'm just getting confused here.
I wasn't at the meeting where Parks and Rec decided on a model, but my understanding was they decided on which of the many options they preferred. And then the recommendation was to ask council to accept the donation of the model that they suggested.
The dog bowl, it's going to be numerated in the dog park. We're going to have a bottle filling station, because that's much more environmentally friendly, and nobody wants to slap their lips on an open water fountain. And then the hand washing station, that's not using the water bowl for the dogs, that's using a separate thing.
They mix the water bottle filling station and now instead of the sink and drinking fountain and dog.
I think we should use the water bottle.
That's the recommendation of Parks and Rec.
I wasn't at the meeting when they chose it. I wasn't part of the discussion, but but I know they did select one.
The dogs might prefer to stand up and use the regular water fountain.
But there is an advantage, I think, to have offering the same or the no-touch water. There's an argument for the no-touch water fill station as well.
Could we go back to Parks and Rec and say we would like the bottle? We will accept the donation, but we'd also prefer we would prefer dog bowl, water bottle, hand washing,
The hose bit.
and hose.
Dog bowl, bottle filling,
Hose, donation, and hand washing.
well, hose, okay. Everything. Okay.
Yeah, literally with the kitchen sink.
All right, so do you want to decide on all those things before I go on to the other items?
Yeah, let's handle that first. So,
You need a motion to accept the donation of the drinking fountain with options.
pending delay installation to possibly spring.
So motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor? And then we need a motion to do a budget amendment for, well, we do all of those together, $4,000, which includes your water fountain installation, your benches, and your notice board. So,
Yeah, you only need 3,500 because the 500 will be delaying until post-COVID, right?
so you don't want to go ahead and have that money moved, so you don't have to come back? I'm happy to go ahead and move it now, you don't have to come back to us before.
Up to you
Yeah,
guys.
so we're gonna, $1,000
For the notice
for
board,
the notice boards, 2,400,
2,500 for the
2,500
benches.
for the benches, it's 3,500, and then we felt like the fountain installation would be 500. So $4,000,
For those three items.
move it from the event budget into other budget. And then you have the approval to do that,
Okay, but
to spend that
what
money.
I mean is we don't do the install on the fountain until post-COVID, the rules change or something. Okay,
Like maybe we can revisit it in the spring.
okay, yeah.
So is that a motion?
Yeah, that was a motion.
So you're approving not only the budget, but also him going ahead and spending the money?
Yeah.
Okay. Who seconded it?
Oh,
Any further discussion?
Wait, and I'm sorry, who had made the motion?
but
Okay, thank you.
How many benches are we talking?
4.
4.
You want the benches to match the existing picnic tables?
I want them to be in this, not exactly the same manufacturer, but in the same colour theme, match the playground stuff, match the existing benches we have, not necessarily exactly the same manufacturer, but similar in appearance.
And Hope and Julie Thomas's husband can give us a better deal.
Sorry?
And Hope and Julie Thomas's husband can give us a
Yeah,
better deal.
there's myself and Julie's husband will do the install. He's a general contractor. He said he'd help us find them cheaper than what we've been quoted. How much, Mike, you got the prices there for the ones that are exactly the same as the benches?
Yeah, it depends on
6
length,
foot.
it depends on 6 foot, 8 foot, it depends on,
6 foot at the back.
I'm not sure looking up. I just think you're a little light on budget to get what you're looking for. I don't have the exact number in front of me, I can probably get the catalog set in the workroom, but, I think you're gonna go short. I think it's what you want.
Think we're going to need more?
I mean, you have the money there, so ask for it now.
Okay.
You want to move 5,000?
Or maybe about
I'd have to buy at least $500 down.
Okay, so then let's say, to be safe, 3,500 for the benches, 1,000 for the notice board, and 500 for the install. Total of 5, remove the 5 from the one event to cover that.
Yeah, it's going to rescind a second.
good.
So we're going to amend the motion to be $5,000.
Second.
Mike, on me,
You can do it, and then he voted yes because he's here.
Thank you. One other item related to the opening, we did discuss some kind of event, but not an event because we don't want to do a ribbon cutting before we donate to council and Parks and Rec. I think you all come, and Cheryl's going to have to do something about the meeting. With a lot of Parks and Rec are there. We got the same issue because we got a public meeting. We wouldn't advertise it. We'd ask Deb to come out and take a photograph. We do a press release with photographs to local media outlets, social media. We'll get a long ribbon so you can all stand 6 feet apart. Bring your own scissors. Just so a photo op so we can officially open the playground. So I don't know exactly when it would be. If you could let me know when you wouldn't be available. If you get planned to be out of town, and then I'll try and work around those days when most people are available. I would say at least 2 weeks out, but not more than 4 weeks out.
Just needs to be sunny. It'll be a pretty picture.
Or we could do it separate. Council could go one day, we could go
Except we
another
don't really
day.
need to say a special notice. We just have to announce that we'll all be in this one place, right?
Yeah, as long as you don't talk town business.
If it's a social thing, yeah, we don't have to do that.
But if you're on the social
Right.
celebrating, we're finally finished.
I think it's a huge achievement for the village, and you guys have been instrumental in making it happen, so I think we should make a big deal out of it and let the community know it's available to play. Because they're already playing on it,
It's all there.
and so many people, the ones who are following the don't play on it thing, are just all so anxious for it to open and looking forward to it.
I think a few people on that.
All right, a couple of things. When I was doing the flag marking for the aeration seeding at the park and the town hall, we discovered some issues with the irrigation system in both places. The one at the park was less than $500. We had money in the budget, so I went ahead and got a contractor to fix it. I had the same contractor come out to the town hall. He had a quick look and thought we had 2 dead solenoids and a missing head. So he quoted us, I can't remember if it was $412 or $421. We didn't need council approval for that. But then when he started to go do the work, he discovered the issue's a bit bigger than that. The controller for the irrigation system is on the back of the building here. The 2 solenoid valves we thought were bad are in the center island where the flagpole is. When he got to checking those valves, the valves are fine. It's the line that goes from the controller to the center island, under the driveway, under the sidewalk, that is bad. He verified that by putting a temporary line over the ground surface. He connected the 2 solenoid valves up with a temporary line and it worked fine. For him to do the work to dig the line up and find where the break is and fix it, he said it's going to be $600. I called Cheryl. Cheryl said, council needs to approve. So I called the guy and said, don't do the work until council approves it. So he left here and he went to fix the one in the park. So
No, I didn't know he was doing any work because we do not have an insurance certificate from him.
he took a note for him to. I asked him to send you an insurance certificate. So he hasn't done it yet. Okay. I did request that because you told me that. And he did take a note of it when he was here, and he called his office and asked them to send it to you.
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure we don't.
So you need us to make a motion to approve $600 to fix the town hall.
It's not park, so I don't need
So
it.
we need, do we have money in our care budget?
In where?
In any line item?
Contingency.
Maintaining these places. So we need a motion to move $600 contingency to approve the irrigation system repair for town hall.
Yeah, 6 not 28, but not that.
That's all those one
Yeah, I'm saying we're going, should we go up to 1,000?
So he's confident $600?
That's what he said.
Sounds like a deal to me, I'll take it.
All right, so do I hear a motion?
So motion.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
All right, next.
Right, sure, I'll give you his contacts up tomorrow. You can chase him for the insurance certificate and then
Okay.
work out with him when he comes to fix it.
Okay.
Right, we had a volunteer day on Saturday. You all know about it, you approved it. Turnout wasn't great, so we had a total of 10 of us working. And the people who came out worked really hard, and we made the number one objective to clear up all the brush and debris that was underneath all the dogwood trees that surround the playground area. We achieved that, we cleaned all that up, it looks great now, ready for some mulch. And a lot of people said, when's the next one? When can we do it again? And then people who saw us said, oh, I wish I would have known. So we will be coming back to you looking for more volunteer
See,
day.
that's the type of sign you need to put in your new signboard. Let us know your interest in volunteer days, and we'll add you to the list.
Alright, so that's that. Tomorrow I'm making a presentation to the Garden Club of Weddington. They asked me to speak at one of their meetings, so I agreed to speak to them about the history of the park. And my selfish objective is to try and engage them in helping or maybe leading the whole Remembrance Walk Memorial Way beautification project. Either helping me with the design, paying for the monument, deciding what plants will go in, doing the landscaping plan. So I will be trying to engage them in helping us do beautification projects at the park. That won't cost the village anything, but will make it more beautiful. They did offer me a speaking fee, which I declined. I said instead make a donation to the park. So they are donating a large, deep, dark red crepe myrtle. It will be planted in the centre of the reading nook that the Girl Scouts did. They originally planted a tree and it died. So they've purchased to donate to the park a large crepe myrtle that we'll put right there.
Do we have to worry about that weeks from now, years from now, bringing up the brick?
Possibly.
I always envisioned like a water fountain or something that wouldn't cause any damage to the surrounding bricks, and putting a tree maybe around the edge.
When the girls originally put it in, there was a crepe myrtle in the centre. So I'm replacing what was there to begin with. It was a pink one to begin with and a light pink flower tree. So that's happening tomorrow. I'll make sure they're all socially distanced. They don't expect more than 25 people to be there. We're going to do it in the park if the weather's good. If the weather's not good, we're going to do it outside of the church.
John, getting back to the bench real quick, it looks like it's $508.85 for the in-ground one that matches the picnic tables we currently have. And the one I'm looking at is the 8-footer, if we can do that.
We can do that.
Does that include shipping?
Well within the so $2,500 was a guess for 4 benches and the installation. And now we've got more than that, so we can easily do ones that exactly match what we got now.
Shipping could be a lot if that's not included, if they're steel benches.
Plus delivery, because delivery from those guys is expensive, right?
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. But
Yeah.
as long
We've
as,
got enough money to do exactly what matches the current picnic bench.
as long as council's okay, they don't care if it's 6 or 8. Is that right? You don't get a 6-foot bench or an 8-foot bench. As long as it is in budget.
Why don't you look at it, not look like we're...
Well, I'm looking at the ones that are specifically going to match what we already have in the park, which is green picnic tables. So,
Right, good. So we'll get that info to Cheryl and then we can get them ordered. Okay. All right, just 2 more quick things. One I think is a no, but I want to make you aware of it. There seems to be a bunch of money around at the state level for outdoor stuff, up to $100,000 grant. It's for things that encourage outdoor activities.
For you.
For youth under 16. So, one thought, here would be the thought, We could have a outdoor classroom, aka picnic shelter, with lighting. They give money for technology, so it could have telephone installation, a Wi-Fi line, a high-speed line. You could maybe get a screen and a projector as an outdoor homeschool classroom for area homeschoolers to use in the park. I think I could write a grant application that could pitch it as that. Here's the rub though. Got to be done and complete by the end of December this year. Now, if I were doing it in my backyard myself, could I execute in 2.5 months building a picnic shelter? For sure, I think. With government, can I do it in 2.5 months? I think no chance.
It has to be approved or completed?
Completed. Money spent by the end of December.
No way.
Yeah.
Because the building will be about 40 grand, 10 grand for power, 30 grand on technology, 10 grand on furniture. You look at 90 grand. Right in the grant application, there's no formal process. You just got to write a description explaining who's going to use it, how it's going to attract under 16 outdoor.
You need to go through formal bidding for something at that dollar amount.
Could you dumb it down and just do the picnic shelter as a covered?
But still,
If you're going to put the picnic shelter in, you might as well run the power, lighting, technology at the same
Even
time.
get a shelter built until you find out.
With government being the way it is, no way. I don't think 6 weeks, 10 weeks is enough to do it.
even if we're not paying for it, it's being covered by the taxes.
There's no matching contributions, no spending.
No, I have no problem with letting you write it and submit it, knowing there's no money out of the taxpayer's pocket or that we have to approve. All we would have to do is approve John going through the steps. And if he goes through the steps and nothing comes of it, then we're not out.
But does he want to waste his time if he knows we can't?
That's on John. And if
I don't mind putting the effort in to send in the application, but what I'd like in exchange is if we got approved and if we got the money, you guys pull out all the stops to make it happen in 10 weeks.
But there's laws that say, and I need to check the amounts because this came at me with that.
Is the max.
No, but I mean, there's construction bidding laws.
Okay.
A lot of things outside of our control.
Yeah.
And then we have to get permits to build it.
John, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a relatively new grant that was just put in place.
Yes, it's part of the CARES Act and it's called North Carolina Outdoor something. Some of the requirements are you got to put their sign on it that is part of this program, the North Carolina Outdoor. It's got to be targeted at under 16 that don't normally get outdoors, getting them outdoors. If there's a tie-in to COVID, that's a great thing as well. So my thought was it's an outdoor classroom for these homeschoolers to come together and be able to socially distance in a group learning environment in the park outdoors. So that was the pitch to comply with what they're looking for. Whether it flies or not, who knows? I don't think the grant writing is going to be that difficult. Just follow their guidelines. And either we get the money or we don't. If we get the money, then we got a problem. Because then we've got no time to execute.
It's almost like approving a donation, not we're spending taxpayers' money. If they're going to,
But if they award us the money, there's a condition, it's got to be completed and done by the end of the year. That's
Which means you should have a shovel-ready project you're now trying to get them done.
right.
And who is it that has this money? I haven't heard about this at all from anyone else.
I can send it to you. Mike sent it to me.
And I'll tell you right now. So it is the
have you contacted them at all about putting an extension on the deadline?
no. It's the NC Outdoor Heritage Advisory Council. Several grant opportunities for P&R agencies. It's through the CARES Act. Funds must be spent by 12/30/20. No formal application. Grants will be reviewed and awarded as they are sent in. Grants are for programs or projects to get youth 16 and under outside. It's important to share how the funds would relate to COVID. Your imagination is the limit. Must impact underserved families and children who are not traditionally outdoors or do not have the opportunity to participate in outdoor activities. Facilities partnering must adopt the OHAC signage. Cap on total funding is $100,000 for one grantee. Grant committee selection shall consider geographic diversity when approving. There is no formal application. Prepare your proposal with, tell them about your organisation, how you serve the community, what project programme you are proposing, what's the cost, who the programme would impact, and remember they're looking to serve youth 16 and under impacted by COVID. That's it.
I think it's wonderful that there's a grant out there. It's just a little odd, the timing, to be so quick, which kind of makes me wonder if we just don't have a lot of money, so we're just limiting it to.
It's a long shot. I mean, if
I'm just kind
tell
of
me what
like,
to do. Apply for it, not apply for it.
yeah, I'm kind of like, but if we go and apply for it and we were to get it, and then we couldn't complete it, but what if we had moved along that process somewhat, then we might be on the hook for something we didn't plan on paying for. Right? Like if they tell us, yes, you got it, and we start in good faith, but we aren't able to finish, and then does that mean they take all their money back and then we're on the hook for whatever we've already spent?
And is this a reimbursement or a...
I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a non-starter is what I'm hearing.
I think it's a non-starter only because of the time.
Okay.
Can you email them saying is there any flexibility on the deadline?
Then you have to understand that government doesn't do anything quickly.
Like if we let a contract, if we can let the contract for the work to be done by the end of the year, with completion in Q1 even.
Well, after the November election, when does the administration in Raleigh change?
It does.
The 12/30 date might be related to a change in administration.
I wonder if this is flowing from the federal to the state, just like we got our money,
And now they have.
because that's also the end of December.
It's coming from the state, and I think they've got a lot of unspent money is what they're trying to spend it. So,
But that may have come from the feds to the state.
But I don't think there'll be that
That
much
should-
change in people. Everybody's on the bandwagon now, helping people out, so.
John, I promise letting you apply for it if you don't mind wasting the time potentially.
well, I don't want to waste time, but I don't mind investing my time in something that's going to benefit the community, but I don't want to waste my time, but believe it or not, I've got other things to do as well.
I just don't want to be on the hook for something we didn't plan on spending. But like if there's something that says, hey, we won and we can get the contract committed by the end of the year, but we can't build it next year,
Can you ask that
you
question?
know, I'm okay.
You can always prepay a contractor.
Yeah, can you ask that question? Can we?
I could try and find out who to ask that question of.
We don't want to
It
prepay.
says the money must,
Yeah.
in bold, it says the money must be spent by 12/30/20. And that's in
I'm
bold.
paying them and then saying, build it next year.
Well, I do.
Well,
Rather than
That's great. I don't think we...
All right, I'll explore it further, and I'll advise you by email.
I think you have our general support, you just have our general acknowledgement, we're not sure.
Okay. Then the last thing I want to bring to your attention, we've been working on it for over a year. A previous council asked us to develop a sponsorship and naming policy, which I believe was distributed to you guys. We picked it up, we dropped it, we picked it back up again, had a lot of disagreement, it got too complicated, we streamlined it a little bit, and then we finally signed off on what we thought was a reasonable policy. So the ask of council is to adopt it as our naming and sponsorship policy or not. We've done everything we can with it. We beat it to death.
Can I ask what you were trying to achieve? Not the words that you put down here, but what was the objective you guys were trying to achieve?
So there was a thought that with somebody, and it came from Julie Brown, basically. WCWA. You see they have great big billboards that cost the sponsor $10,000 a year to put a quote. So the thought was, well, what if somebody comes to the park and wants to do something for the park, what do we give them in exchange? And of course we don't want billboards all over the park, but if somebody wanted to make some kind of contribution to the park, some donation to the park, what can we give them in exchange? So we tried to define what they get in exchange for what they gave the park. And in the beginning it was real complicated. We had like a bronze level, a silver level, a gold level, a diamond level. We just tried to squash it down and think about all the different ways somebody might make a contribution to the park. We're thinking more like businesses than anything else. Or we might go out and ask for participation and say, hey, how about funding a picnic shelter? Well, if they funded a picnic shelter for $40,000, what did they get? So we tried to come up with a policy that would cover all those kind of things if somebody makes a donation or contribution to the park. That was the objective.
And for example, at the very beginning, when we didn't have any money, when we did the initial dog park, we had Carolina Pets sponsor 2 dog waste stations. That they donated the money, we bought the dog waste stations, they got a little sign. And we kept that sign up for 6 months or a year, and then we took the sign down. But we didn't really have a formal policy when we did this, and that was back in 2015.
We adopted this in 2013. We adopted the policy in 2013.
Oh, you did? So we've amended it because it didn't cover everything.
I was confused what you were trying to change this time.
Yeah, that's why I was asking what your objective was.
There were small donations and there were big donations.
I don't think this is written to accomplish what you just said. I think, and I think it comes down to the sponsorship piece as well as donations. Because if people are like, oh, we want you to give a donation with no restrictions, but if there are restrictions, we'll follow the donors' restrictions. Well, it may not be something we want. So I kind of get what you're after now. It's a little bit of like, how can we acknowledge that donation is essentially what you're after. Not that they get anything in exchange for it, but acknowledging their donation, such as their nameplate or something on the donated item.
Right.
And
So we beat it to death. So what I'm basically saying is, I don't think we can make any more progress. If you don't like it and council wants to take it on or not change it, that's as far as I'm concerned. We can't do any more to it.
yeah, the only other thing that came to mind as I was looking at this was, now that I kind of understand where you're going at, because I don't think it's quite reason, but, if we were to have a fundraising event for the park, right? Like, hey, we're going to fundraise in the park, and we'd like you to donate. Here's some suggested amounts. If you donate $25, it's a plant. $100, it's a small tree, or ideas to give you how much to donate or something like that. Would we expect this policy to cover that type of event?
We did discuss the Remembrance Walk. We were trying to work in, whatever you want to call it, Memorial Way, Remembrance Walk. We were trying to bring that into this. And in that program, they get a little tiny plaque. If they donate $200 for the tree, they get a plaque on the big monument sign that says, the big sign says, execute with kind contributions in loving memory of. And then if they make an individual donation, they get a little plaque on the big sign, memory of Fluffy, or grandma, or...
But I'm just asking if that should be memorialized in the same document. Do things like that.
A lot of the things we talked about doing this, I don't think are ever going to come to fruition. If somebody gave them $50,000 or something, I don't think it's ever going to happen. But we discussed it and we tried to cover it.
But it also, with the thing about it, the way it's written, the donation we use discretion of council. So if somebody comes and says, hey, we're going to donate a water fountain to you, for example,
Right?
we can say, thank you very much, and in recognition of that, we'll put a little plaque on it for you.
Right.
We can decide that, I think, within the current
Yeah,
policy.
and that's what the policy is. we discussed those kind of things in the policy allowed it. There's non-specific donations. Some guy was back here and he said, how do I make a donation to the park?
Right.
Somebody might say, oh, here you go, it's $500. And that's non-specific. And then there's, I'm going to give you $2,500 or $5,000 for a fountain, and that's a very specific. And then we try and define what they get for the specific, and they don't get anything for the non-specific. We talked about so many scenarios. I was going crazy with it all. And every time we discussed it, a new scenario would pop up, and I finally said, this is too complicated.
I think what you're trying to do, I'm not sure that our current policy would exclude us from doing those things, because a lot of things are up to the discretion of council. I think it just, we just need to have it brought to us, I think.
There are conflicts in the original document that we were trying to resolve as well, and it was all about, we talked about restricted donation versus non-restricted donation, and then later on there was a contradiction of what we'd said in a different part, so we tried to resolve those contradictions in the amendments, and then got into discussion of definitions. What does that mean? What does this? It was driving me crazy.
Didn't Kim Ormiston write this?
Who?
Kim Ormiston? She wrote this policy.
Kim Ormiston, yeah. Originally.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started identifying problems with it, and under the last council they said, can you guys take a look at this and fix it and make a suggestion? We've done that, and I don't want us to spend any more time on this. The ball's in your court, council. Do as you wish with it.
Anybody want to take it home?
I'm like Lori. I mean, do we really want this? If the thing that concerns me is the restricted contribution. If I own a tractor business and I want to give a tractor to the park for maintenance, for use, for anything else, it's all well and good, but there's so many things that need to take place before you can accept that contribution. You don't have any place to put the tractor, you don't know who's going to run the tractor, any of that.
But throughout the policy, it gives council the right to accept or reject any offer of a contribution. So in that case, you could just say, we're just not ready for a tractor, and say no.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that we also put little plaques on each project that the Boy Scouts do for us. The Boy Scouts did the little picnic areas with the pad and the picnic table and the grill. Somewhere on there, there's usually a little plaque that says, this was done by the Boy Scouts on this date.
It's a little flag garden, Rotary, Rotary Club of Whitehorn, Wellington.
You said the previous council asked you guys to fix it. What was broken, in their opinion?
The contradictions in the current policy, where up front it says one thing and later it says something that's completely different than it said in the beginning. It was contradictions.
But those haven't been fixed.
We fixed it in that one, we took those out, and then we added other stuff when we started reading through it and getting into the detail and discussing a million different scenarios. How does it cover this? How does it cover that? What would happen in this case? So on, so on, so on.
I'm confused. The second item you have says section II.1-C, and that section isn't in the policy.
No, I think what it refers to in those final changes, Cheryl, is referring to the draft we did over a year ago.
Well, we need to work from what we have.
From Kim's document, there was another document, and then...
Well, this is currently
This document?
adopted.
That's what was sent.
2013 one?
Yeah, this is our official policy. Right
Yeah, that's the only one I have.
So we would need to get the 2000.
You need to get the draft working document from Pam that we were working on. It started with this,
Uh-huh.
and and then it moved on, and then it was the final one last month. So.
Okay, so you're referencing the change of something we hadn't seen. No wonder you might be.
Can you ask
Oh.
Pam to send that to Cheryl? Or Cheryl, can you ask Pam to send it to us?
I'll ask her, but we need to go from what we have adopted. We can't jump to a different
But I
one.
think see it, their original draft where they're trying to do these other changes might help us too.
Okay.
But I'd say we just leave
It seems what you're missing is that interim thing where we started what Kim did. We made a lot of changes, we drafted another document, and then we went back and forth, and finally added those last few things, and it was those together. So it seems you are missing that Word document. It was one of those ones, where it highlights changes every time somebody edits it.
So Cheryl, you ask Pam for it, and if she has it, just send it out and then we can.
Yeah, Amy has it, because Amy gave us all copies for the past 6 meetings we've had about this book.
But from that draft, these are the additional things you're after.
So we haven't even seen the other drafts, so there's other changes.
So we'll table this and review that other draft.
Okay.
Right, and that's all I have. There's a lot, I know, but making good progress.
John, what are you doing on this damage thing?
Yeah, I talked about that with the contractor. What they've done is hit it with a spade. When they were digging out the dirt from underneath the equipment, they had to do it manually. And the guy went in with the spade and he dinged, and put a dent in one of the tubes, and it chipped the paint off. So it's in an area that will be buried, but I don't like the idea of them just burying it, so I've instructed them they need to repaint it before they bury it. They will do that. One of the reasons we selected this equipment is that all the steel is treated with zinc phosphate before they paint it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with cars in the 60s. You got a chip in the paint, and before you knew it, you had something like it. They now dip the car body in zinc phosphate before they paint it, and that stops that from happening. All that tubing in the park is treated in that way.
John, I'm more worried about it's actually ruptured the metal. It's not just the outside coating that's off, it's into the metal.
Yeah, it's not broken, the metal, it's got a dent in it. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
As long as they're going to address it before they put the board in place or whatever.
they're going to paint it. They've got touch of paint, they're going to touch up the paint, even though it's going to be buried under the rubber, they are going to paint it, because I thought I don't want to be in a cathodic site that causes further issue down the road. So they're going to paint it before they bury it, and then it'll be buried in 3.5 inch of rubber. So, saw it, addressed it, being handled.
Well, thank you, John, especially for the extra detail you went to, including buying special piece of equipment for the depth measurements and everything else. They're definitely above and beyond what I was expecting you to do, but thank you.
No, you're welcome. And after I'd done it, I learned it was all unnecessary. The guy told me how they measure the thickness of the rubber as they're putting it in, and they've got a tool that actually does it. So he said, he saw me taking all the measurements, it was spreadsheets, what are you doing? So I explained, he goes, you don't need to do that. We have this gauge we use when we lay the rubber down. And he said, if we want it 3.5 inches, we use this, and if we want it 2.5 inches, we use this. He said, they plumb this down, they mix the rubber like concrete almost, then they dump it in, and they hand trowel it up to this gauge, then they move the gauge
That would have
back,
been helpful to know.
and they
last
dump
month.
more in, and they hand trowel it.
Oh, yeah.
So all I needed to do really was take a photograph of that gauge, and I had everything. But
John, one last thing, I thought about this the other day, and I snapped a couple pictures off the internet. On the fence,
Yeah.
it's going to be chain link.
correct.
There's 2 different types of tops, the chain link fence. One would be a looped top, and the other would be an open spike top. I don't know if you see the difference. For our playground, I'd like it to be the looped top. You see the difference there.
Right. I don't know what the intention is, but these guys have fenced playgrounds many, many times.
Well, I just don't want to end up with something,
No, I get it.
okay, just.
They know, and I've impressed upon them several times, that the most important thing, because this is what the inspector is going to look for, is the gate compliance with ADA. ADA does not define loop top versus spiky top or whatever. They do very clearly define the gate requirements, including the type of latch enclosure that's allowed for ADA. So they know they have to comply with it.
Are they still installing the service gate in the back?
Sorry?
Service gate in the back?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's what we asked for.
All right.
If we don't want it, we can tell them to leave it out, but I was going to leave it in just in case we ever want to get stuff in there and get equipment in there. Plant trees, plant shrubs, replace the mulch, move benches in, bags of concrete.
The trench you talked about coming off the hill, is that going to be done, you think, before the water place rubber goes in?
No, I don't think it would. That'll happen with the final grading when they do the landscaping, I think. So they're going to have to put the concrete in, then they're going to have to backfill that concrete on the downhill side, so that swale will probably occur when they need dirt to bring around and put on the downhill side of the concrete.
Do we need to budget anything for repairing any of the gravel piles or? Because right now, I actually like the gravel where it is because it soaks up most of the mud and stabilizes the ground. But afterward, we let it go back to grass, right?
Correct.
How do you know?
They have to landscape what they disturbed.
Okay. All right.
So that
Anything else for John? I do have something. Oh, I have a question. Flag Park. So, over the past year, or has it been 2 years now?
Yeah.
The flagpole, the flag has needed to be lowered several times. And typically, Cheryl lets John know and he has to go over and fix it. And you know, John's not always available or in town. I kind of think it should be a staff duty. John's not our paid employee. He spends enough time. He gets no compensation for his time. So I talked with Cheryl, and like I said earlier, we can change Amy's workers' comp insurance, and it will cover her for leaving town hall to go to the parks and lower the flag, to take pictures for code enforcement, to deliver planning board packets. She can actually leave town hall and be covered. So I would like council's approval to do that and to have our admin raise and lower the flag. And we did have a really nasty comment on Facebook and I replied that we did lower the flag for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I said, we did lower it. Sorry we were late. We have a small staff. We do the best we can. We're trying to work on a better process. And she replied back again something nasty about how we were just for ignoring a national and state order. And so we did not ignore it. John went and lowered it. Yes, it was a day late, but honestly, we're doing the best we can.
It's really hard with the flag. We have a lot of times when it has to go to half-mast. Luckily at Town Hall, people pretty much leave at 5 o'clock, and they don't know. Usually it's a sunrise to sunset. Well, we're not getting here at sunrise, but usually people aren't here at sunrise. But at the park, you've got people there early, late, weekends, which we don't have here. We do the best we can here, but we don't comply 100% because
we have people waiting
it's
to
just
get
hard.
in the gate at sunrise. So if it's not down immediately at sunrise, they know it. And sometimes, like this time, I didn't get a notice that it needed to come down. And then when the lady said, sent an email, why isn't it down for Ginsburg? I'm like, okay, I'll go take care of that.
And it was like on a Saturday, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's difficult.
if we want to have a policy, I don't think we should ask our volunteer to do it. If there's something that comes up on the weekend, it could be something that council does. like we take turns going and raising the flag, but I don't think we should ask our volunteer to be the one to do it. We can have Amy do it during the week, and if it's something we feel like should be done on a Saturday, you're looking at 4 people that should be doing it.
What's the dollar amount to change the insurance?
It's like $400 a year, $500 a year.
Well, it sounds like it's something we need to do anyway on that.
And that's going to cover,
Other things we're asking her to do.
that's going to cover the code enforcement as well, if she goes out to take pictures.
It's my understanding it can cover her for anything she goes.
Well, no, not anything, and you have to be careful with Park and Rec and stuff. He was trying to come up with the lowest rate, and he said that, and we had brought up to him the flag and
So kind of like administrative.
the signs, the taken down signs, and he said, well,
The planning board packets.
I don't think we have to worry about planning board packets, because it's like, I can drive to the bank, I can drive to the post office, and Amy can currently. It's just, it was for the signs, and he said, yes, you could take pictures for code enforcement and do the signs, and the lowest rate he could come up with was for the code enforcement. But that doesn't mean she can do all these things at the park.
But she could lower the flag.
Right.
No, that's
He said, she probably shouldn't, but I guess it's okay. That was kind of how he said it.
I didn't even realize there's a whole protocol for lowering and raising the flag.
I tried to get the Boy Scouts to take that on as a community service project about 2 years ago. I said, look, it only has to go up and down so many times per year unless there's a death of a president or something like
There's
that.
a lot of times.
And they're like, no, we don't want it.
Every time there's a terrorism, every time a senator, somebody from Fort Bragg, there's a lot.
Than it was 20 years ago.
I'm on there's a list that you can sign up for, and they send me all the notices. But I don't turn my computer on Sunday. I'm sorry.
So I explained to Amy that you can bring it from full mast to half mast, but when you go from half mast to full, you got to bring it all the way down first before you send it back up.
So you're probably.
I think you're supposed to do that even to go to half. I always come down and then half, and then down and
There's a
up.
whole written procedure for
There
it.
is. Mhm.
So if we want it done on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have to take on our responsibility.
Well, and the thing of it is, I don't think any of us are going to subscribe to something just to monitor to know we have to raise a lower flag. But if it's something we're aware of, like a Supreme Court justice has died, we could probably expect that that would be a thing.
It's also, remember, it's the timing of it, because they say it's got to be done, brought to half mast at sunrise, and it's got to be brought back to full mast at sunset. So, you might
It's a killer.
Be there at 6 a.m. in the morning, and you may have to be there at 9 o'clock at night.
I'll take the night shift.
Depends on the time of year.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we are, for our resident who complained, we are working on a better process. Can I have a motion? Do I need a motion to change Amy's workers' comp?
I think you have consensus.
Yeah, yes.
And then
That'll solve at least the money for Friday, but we'll worry about Saturday and Sunday. if it comes
having the
up.
rises. But we are trying to do better. But we were not ignoring the state mandate. We were doing the best we could, and she needs to. Maybe George could tell me what he legally said about it. And so that brings us to, thank you, John. Anything else with that? The DOT letter. So we got a letter back, another agreement regarding our roundabout that we have to sign. And basically the difference is, and I don't know that the council understood this before, Mike, you might know. It basically says that up to that amount, and if they go over that amount, we have to pay that extra amount, whatever it may be. And
The original agreement was, they estimated the cost at $1,310,000, and we took 21%, and so we contributed $275,100. The new estimated cost is almost $2 million, $1,977,750.
So there's a $700,000.
Yeah. 50%.
Obviously, we paid them, they've been sitting on our money for 4 years?
No, since 2018, I think. But if it goes above that, say it goes $2.5 million, Costs will be split equally between them and us.
I don't think we can commit to that.
That could be $250,000.
Yeah, that's,
Well, we can't say no, or we don't care
Yeah,
about.
it's tough. Mhm.
Right, and this is just the hard place that the Department of Transportation is in. So I've got a call sometime this week with the Union County Park, because there's a piece of widening 74 within the Parkway region. The price went from 600 million to 1.2 billion. And it's kind of like, is this the right place to spend the money? And this is just DOT trying to find ways to keep projects moving forward. Basically get municipalities to help out if it's afforded enough.
yeah, we can't just sign a blank check, not knowing what the actual cost is going to be, and saying we're going to pick up 20% or 51% or,
Well, no, it says we take half of whatever they go over.
I was saying, it's 21%, now it could be up to 50%. And that's a number that,
Well,
if they had done it when they said they were going to, we'd be done already.
I'm not telling residents that I didn't vote for a road improvement, because that's the biggest complaint that I hear.
No, I understand that, but it's going to have to be explained.
on the other hand, we shared 21% of 1.3 million. We are not sharing 21% of almost 2 million because they came up with other funds.
To make that difference?
Yeah. I mean,
How much have we already given them out of our current budget, or out of our previous budget?
we gave them one payment of $275,100. One payment.
So, sure, if I can, so, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. We paid them 21% of the 1.3 original quote,
Correct.
and they incurred the $700,000 increase all on their own?
Well, they have a chart here, and
One of the things DOT said, they're seeing,
between federal and state funds, yeah.
they're seeing the revenues go down and all the costs go up, and not necessarily in the same sequence. So if we had done our 21% of the 1.9, it would be 415,000. And you're saying if we go above the 1.9, we have to pay 50% of the difference?
That's what it says. Mhm.
50% of whatever they go over.
Theory, the 21% would have been 415,000, so I'm sure points like we have to pay for our fair share of that increased estimate. It's not got there.
It is difficult because for us, half of 500,000 is a lot of money.
But I'm like, that is bad intersection, that 84 and that roundabout and all of the things you continues to approve it's going to be a nightmare when it close down just to do that construction. But it would be an even bigger nightmare if that roundabout doesn't happen.
But there's no way the DOT will give us a guaranteed maximum price?
No.
The other piece of this is the revenue's got to hit hard because the roads are paid with gas taxes and nobody's driving. And on top of that, a lot of more increase in electric vehicles, you don't pay anything. Just a lot of things all conspiring to be the perfect storm of reducing revenue and increasing cost.
Well, they're going to figure out a way pretty soon to start taxing the electric vehicles to pay for the roads. Just a matter of time.
It also says that when it's actually done and if there's an overrun, it'll be due in 60 days or interest and late payment penalty will be charged to us.
Yeah, so the reason they're asking us to sign a blank check for up to $500,000, or potentially even more. I mean, if we were Indian Trail or some big municipality, I could understand, being able to pencil with that, but that's a big chunk of money.
Can we sign it and then get a committed date of beginning construction and?
No, they won't commit to that.
I don't see how we can not do it. I mean, it's not going to be $1 million, hopefully. But I don't see how we can not do it, because then...
Well, where are we going to get the money if they decide to send us a bill for $500,000?
then take it out of our savings.
That's why we're not spending the $440,000.
Exactly. That's why we wouldn't contract out. That's why we're fiscally extra responsible. So we can tap that, because that's what people want. People want their roads fixed.
But when I run into people in the grocery store, they say, oh, you're on the town council. They say, terrible, terrible things about the community. I said, what's wrong with the community? They said, well, the roads are bad. I said, that's the Department of Transportation. Well, there's problems with the school. I said, that's the Board of Education. We got a problem with security. I said, that's the Sheriff's Department. You know, just because you're a government doesn't mean you control everything.
No, but at least we could say we made it a priority.
Yeah, and we sunk a big chunk of taxpayers' money into this, and the DOT is stringing us along.
You're stringing everybody along. We're not being treated unfairly. It's just the nature of the beast. But I would make a motion that we sign a contract and accept the terms.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
I hate being put in a situation where you don't have a choice and we're not going to tell you how much money this is eventually going to cost us. You know, I'm all for being fiscally responsible and I'm all for improving the community for the residents, but this just does not feel right to me, so I'm going to vote no.
So,
You could have a tie here.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Mike, I agree with you. Amanda, I agree with you. I mean, you ask any resident what the number one complaint is with Wesley Chapel is traffic and the roads. But I agree with you. I don't think it's fiscally responsible for us to say, yeah, we're going to give you a blank check.
can you put a cap on it? Can you say we'll pay the overage up to?
She's made it pretty clear in the beginning that any changes, we will discuss them. However, it'll have to go to Raleigh and it'll add a minimum of 6 weeks. I mean, if you want to ask questions, we can ask questions.
My vote is to sign it. So Lori's is to sign it.
And the only reason I'm saying I think it makes sense because I do think the roads are really bad, and I understand the concern about the open-ended price, but it's pay now or pay later, I think.
Now, is this going to address both the intersections?
No, it's just the one car.
And we've already discussed with the engineers at the Department of Transportation that just doing one and not doing both is actually going to exacerbate the problem. The reality, the true fix for the problem is to do both intersections at the same time to fix the problem. Doing this is going to make things worse in the short term, and the engineers have already told us that that's the case.
But that roundabout's on the list too.
Oh, yeah, and there's been, the Weddington Roadway has been on the list for how many years now?
But I think the school will make that one I wouldn't even be surprised if that one got done before that one, because the school is pushing for that roundabout.
And all that new development down.
I agree that all that's going to get done, but for me, the size of our municipality, we've got to rely on the Department of Transportation to do their job. I didn't mind. It was a hard thing to do on council back when I was there and you guys were not on, to basically pay the bribe. And that's basically what we called it. It was a bribe. To take taxpayers' money and bribe the DOT to put us on the top of the list, because my eventual decision to go with it was Brad Horvath was sitting in the audience when we were sitting up there, and Brad said, look, if you don't pay this bribe, they're going to take your application, you're going to put it on the bottom of the pile, and that road will never be improved. And that's when I decided we've got to bite the bullet and pay the bribe. But now they're turning around and saying, yeah, the bribe you gave us, that's not enough.
But the same contingency was on the previous contract. The same contingency was, if we go over, you're paying half, right?
I'm not sure if it was half or if it was 21%. It was some.
I thought she said it was the
contingency.
same. I thought she said it was the same. Let me look at the email. I thought she said it was the same as the previous. Because
While you're checking for that, Lori, would it get to a point of where carpet, well, not carpet, against DOT. DOT would say, we're going to do this regardless of whether we've got municipalities.
Yes, they would, because they've already got intersections, they've already got roundabouts in Wesley Chapel that we didn't pay anything for. And when I said, well, why are you asking us for 21% of this, but you just did this one that didn't cost us a dime? They said, well, based on traffic patterns, based on safety issues. If it's a safety issue, we're going to do it and pay 100% of the cost. If it's a traffic flow problem, you have to pay 20%.
There's a critical intersections list
Mm-hmm.
that people voted on and selected, and there's information out there, you can go and look at that. I think it's a moving target right now. I think in the way things have been historically, it's not necessarily how they're going to be going forward, because I just think we're in such a bad spot right now. That, yeah, I think there are going to be places where it's just going to be, yeah, they may pay all of it for something, or they may never pay all of it again. I just feel like every time I go to a meeting, it's a little something else. It's just always bad news.
And they came up a couple of years ago with that they weren't going to take on maintenance of any roads in the subdivisions. It's not at all unconceivable that they may go and say, you're a town, you take your roads. And we would have to do everything in our town, in all the towns. I mean, a lot of towns do their roads.
Right, but their taxes are higher than what we pay, and rightfully so. They pay PAL money, and that money goes specifically to road
And if they
improvements
told
and
us when they
structures.
take on the roads, then we'd have to raise taxes.
And they tried to do that for a total of about 6 months. They realized it was not feasible to do, and they withdrew it 6 months later. And look, I don't mind paying the bribe, but I don't want to be extorted. And it feels more like extortion than anything else from the DOT. Will that road get improved? Yes. Will it be improved soon? Yes. Do we have to necessarily pay for it? Like I said, if we were Indian Trail and we had deeper pockets, I would have no problem with it. But I think if a resident came up to me and I said, you're not in favor of improving our roads, I'd say, yes, I am in favor of improving the roads, but not at any cost. Not at raising your taxes as a resident.
Well, DOT doesn't want this project to go over either. They don't have the money for it to go over. So it's not like they're going to go out there and try to, I want to build this roundabout and go over. They're not going to do that. They don't have the money to do it.
That's roundabout, and I talked to the engineer after it was done. We were on Pioneers Market. I asked the guy, I said, did you pay the general contractor, even though he was 2 months over his time frame? He goes, yeah. I said, did you inspect it to make sure it was built properly? He said, no. Saw him about a month later, and he said, you're right, that roundabout was not built to the right diameter. I said, but you paid it anyway? He said, yeah. I said, what are you going to do? Are you going to use this guy on the next roundabout? He said, I don't know, maybe. To me, that's not being fiscally responsible. That's not being responsible in any way, that you don't inspect the work after it's done, and that if you get a bad contractor, you just keep hiring them. And I don't know if any of you guys remember when the roundabout was being done and the road was closed, and what a traffic nightmare it was. But to do all that, the idea was to do it in the summer when school wasn't open. And they didn't start until a month before school started, as far as putting a shovel in the dirt. They weren't done until 3 or 4 weeks into the school year, and it caused all kinds of problems where people were like, I don't know what's Sun Valley, because then I have to get to that traffic.
I could be out of my house.
Yeah, exactly. So,
All I have is your email that says that.
Pardon?
All I have is your
so
email.
again,
that says that.
it just to me seems like writing a blank check sounds more like extortion when we've already paid the bribe. That's my 2 cents.
That's you saying it was the same.
64% of the money is federal funds. DOT's not paying that much more than we are.
Well, there's no one here that doesn't understand that the DOT is screwed up. And you can say, why is it screwed up? Fill in the blank. Lack of vision, lack of leadership, lack of funds, missing funds. I mean, you can put any
Well, guess
verb
what?
in there you want.
We're not going to get that money we paid back. So you can either pay more and get what you paid for, or you're not getting it back. You know they're not getting that.
We paid the bribe, they should do the work.
You're not going to get that $275, $100 back. That's gone.
The money helped it move up in the priority so that it would even be on the list.
And then how come it's not
If we
done?
take our money back, I don't know if it'll still be on the
Last
list.
month, there was a vote to approve 5 projects, and this was one of them, for it to move forward. And the only reason it's on that list is because we have contributed.
Right. Yeah, then they should do it. I mean, now all of a sudden the price has gone up.
But they don't have money.
$700,000.
They fiscally cannot do more work. They can barely keep up with their existing contracts. They're not allowed to.
No.
Because they're saying that they will do it, but they know it's going to cost more.
And they're not
if it
saying
goes over
when.
that, we pay half what we would have paid previously.
David, this whole ball is in your court because I'm voting no.
Well, they're asking us to pay half and not 21% like they said originally.
Half of an overage. So if it goes
If it
over, so we pay.
Maybe it'll come in under.
If we pay a
Never.
portion, if it goes over $1.9 million, DOT pays half of that overage, and we pay half of that overage. If it goes over, which apparently was a clause in our previous contract.
And how time sensitive is this letter?
She requested we return it within 30 days. She does say that if you have an issue with any of the terms, we will discuss those requests. And it will add a minimum of 6 weeks to the processing time, so. I mean,
No, sorry, say it's on the last part again.
and it would add a minimum of 6 weeks to the processing time for it.
It says, however, most change requests to the agreement verbiage will either be rejected by the Raleigh Transportation Program Management Office or will require approval by the Attorney General's Office, which will add a minimum of 6 weeks to the process.
We've already waited, what, 4 years? It's all you, David.
I can only relate this to my own personal expenses, and I can't write a blank check. I can't. I mean, out of my household, I can write a blank check. I wouldn't write a blank check for this village. I vote no.
So it dies.
So are we going to have an official vote?
Oh, I made a motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, now a vote.
Yeah, so we went.
Who votes yay? 2 yay, okay. Who votes nay? Okay.
So it dies. Since we
Mhm.
We're on the 5th. This is the first vote we've had since June to go on where we had a split decision.
And I know how Jan did it.
Oh, I'm sure, because she lives right there.
But she can't vote right now because
Right,
she's
right,
not
right.
an active member, okay.
So, what do we do? Do y'all let us know what you want to go back to them and say? What would make you be a yes? Because we've got to respond.
But you have a guaranteed maximum price and a
And
time.
what would that be?
I'd like it to be 1.9.
If you don't want to pay any of the overage.
I mean, I'd be open to paying overages if I knew what they were.
There's got to be a cap. You can't just write a blank check.
It's so hard when, in paving, most of it's tied to the price of oil and, you know. So they don't know.
So, but we have to be clear on what we're asking them for in our response.
A cap would be my stipulation.
Agreed.
Of what?
Yeah, what
It's a
amount?
total project. I mean, again, I don't know. I'm not in a position where I can say, 100,000 is okay, but I'm in a position where I think $1 million would not be okay. I mean, who's to say that it's not $1 million? It went from 1.3 to almost, it increased 700,000. What if it increased another $1 million?
We'd be selling some more stuff.
We'd have the Wesley Chapel garage sale.
We have a Wilson Chapel revolt whenever we had to raise taxes.
Well, then they could be quiet about roads.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody comes up to me on the street and asks me about this, I'm going to say, look, we can either approve the roads or raise your taxes, but I can't write a blank check. That's not fiscally responsible, in my opinion. That will be my response.
Well, our response would be that responded back with we had like a cap of the amount that we want to pay. And that cap being,
If it caps at their highest estimate, Cheryl, what are we going to be out of pocket additionally?
Have they given us the highest
they
estimate?
they estimate the project will cost $1.9 million.
And have not asked us for any more money since that $600,000 price
Is it
increase.
1.9 an estimate, or is that an actual?
The new estimated cost,
Do they want
1,977,750.
21% of that?
No, they don't. They came up with it, I believe, with federal funds. It was federal or state. The federal budget is 65% of the whole project, so.
And this is the revised cost and exceed will be shared equally between department and
So if it goes to 2.5 million, we'd be able to go for an additional $250,000.
Which is what we invested first around.
So federal funds, state funds, our funds. On completion of the project, the department will calculate the actual cost of the work and will bill the municipality any excess project costs based on the above participation rates.
So Cheryl, when you reply back that our council, that we don't have it was a split vote and we don't have a fifth, so we are asking for a cap to the amount of the project, and that cap being $2 million. So that means we would come out another 50,000.
Well, like I said, I'm okay with having an amount. And Mike, you jump in.
No, it's the blank part that.
Okay. So what amount are you comfortable with? I also believe you give them an amount.
Sure, of course they will. But we've already paid them 21% of the initial estimate.
So what are you comfortable saying that we would pay? The village would like to add a cap to the whatever overage cost.
I didn't want to pay the first 21%. I'm not interested in upping that at all. Especially when there's not a defined amount. And until they define the amount, I'm not going to vote for anything that's a blank check.
So define the amount. You define what you're willing to pay. How much over would you be willing to pay?
Zero. For me, it's zero more. We've already paid the bribe. I'm not interested in paying any more.
David, what about the 50?
It's reminded me of a discussion like medical insurance. You might need a heart transplant, you might just need a stent, you might not need nothing at all. But what you always have in your medical insurance policy is an out-of-pocket maximum. I think what you guys are looking for is your out-of-pocket maximum.
True.
You already had out-of-pocket 200 and something. So I don't know if you say 50% increase in your out-of-pocket expense would be another 100,000. So you could make a cap on your out-of-pocket expense based on an increase to what you've already paid.
So we could say, we would agree to pay overages in the amount of 20%.
No, hold tight. So the estimated value now is $1,971,000.
1,977,750.
And the original amount was how much?
1,310,000.
That's a difference of $667,000. And if we would have paid 21% of that, that would have been $140,000. I understand the cost of goods and cost of labor, the cost of the project going up. I understand that. I feel like that if they would have gotten it done when they said they would have gotten it done, that we would have pay the 21% of that overage and then leave it at that. Say, okay, DOT, now it's time for you to perform. And 21% of that would be $140,000.
So, to get this right, you're saying that you would just like to pay 21% of the overage of the estimation of the project?
I'm saying that we pay 21% of the total project.
He's saying that, and if my math's right, you can check me out, David, is that, the project needs to be 2.257 million or less. And we would contribute 21%.
Yeah.
What was the amount again? 22?
Which is like 474,000.
But this is going to require the 6 weeks additional time to get an answer on if we make this stipulation.
And they could come back and say no. So, do we need a motion to say that we're going to go back to them?
Yes, let's have a motion.
You got the math still work?
Huh?
Have you got the math?
No, it's not. I mean, we don't, I mean, I wouldn't sign it, no.
Can you go back to them and say, we don't have the motion died, so we don't have the majority, so the discussion was, could the agreement be modified to say,
Or do we say something along the lines of, without a commitment date and some idea of the maximum price, we're unable to commit?
could we have any agreement as to, any cap as to the maximum price?
And tell me, because if they can commit that they can do it, because the sooner they do it, the less expensive it probably be. So without a firm date or a firm estimate, we were unable to approve open-ended funding.
Okay. Well,
And see what they come back with.
okay. Mhm.
When they tell us, well, it means they have that funds totally off the table.
And you lose your money?
And you lose your money, or we get our money back, or it comes off the table, and we never know when it's going to happen.
Well, if we're going to ask the questions, I think we do need to add to that list of questions. If the project isn't completed, do we receive a refund on the money's already paid as a deposit?
I'm sure we probably assigned that money away.
Well, she already said that last time, they've already spent $21,000 on the right-of-way, because they were offering to give us $254 last time. So
You're giving us a refund of $254?
that's what they offered, I think, last time.
We want the road improvements, but we cannot write a blank check, in my opinion. They've got to make a commitment on their end before we can make a commitment on ours.
And we would like a firm number.
And if they've got a price today of $1.9 million, why can't we lock in $1.9 million?
Let's also, what's their projected construction date?
And until they bid it, they won't know what it
They can't
is.
commit to that.
No,
They're
I mean,
going to
that's
kick the
what
can
adds-
down the road as long as they can.
That's what adds to the variability of the estimate.
All right, so Cheryl's going to reach out. And respond back.
We'll have another contract from them.
Maybe. We might get a, no, thank you.
I'm sure I also want to touch base with Bjorn and let him know,
With who?
with Bjorn Hansen in the county,
Uh-huh.
and just let him know what they told us and how it went down. So he doesn't get blindsided.
Okay.
Because this might mean we come off the list and they put somebody else who signed their agreement on the list.
Somebody with deeper pockets or
I'm sure they'd be glad to get some commitments out of their purses already committed.
How do they keep the monies that we've already paid when they were just a few months months ago, or last month, they were wanting to refund that money anyway.
They can't.
They weren't wanting to refund it, they thought we'd asked for a refund.
Who would have asked for a refund?
They never told us. They never told us who.
They didn't know.
Somebody officially made the request, but nobody fessed up to it.
And it wasn't in writing.
They said it was a conversation.
And we had asked repeatedly to find out who had that conversation with them, but they won't tell us.
And they said it. All right, well, let's move on then. Cheryl got her instructions. I don't think we need a motion because we're just going back and asking some questions.
Mhm. Yeah.
That brings us to update on the process to hire a planning and zoning administrator. We did get one more application. However, I did reach out and left a message and haven't spoken to him yet. However, his last several jobs are like very short.
Job offer?
Which gives me some concern. And he also, his tagline again was looking for a professional position to grow. And I did some online research about him, and he is he's like in a team of planners now. So I think this would be another stepping stone person here for a year or so. But I will talk to him and report back to council. There was a comment made last. Close my computer. We don't have Vaughn's bill for the first. I don't know if y'all. I've got to work with Vaughn a lot, and I've been very impressed. He's very knowledgeable. The way he spouts that stuff off about. Let me see if I can find it.
We don't have his bill for September. We had the bill for August.
September. But his first bill was $1,744. So that was almost 24 hours. For that same week, for that same amount of time, August 18th through the 31st for Robin, we paid We would have paid $3,899. So he is well below cost comparison wise. And I go back to, I want to be wowed by a candidate because I'm wowed by Vaughn right now, and he's helping us through these issues. And I kind of don't want to change again right now, but if we get the right candidate, maybe. But I just wanted y'all to know that, and for the month of September, if we had a full-time planner, it would cost us $9,384. So once I get Vaughn's bill for that month, we can compare it also. But right now, this is some cost savings for us, and I think Vaughn is doing an amazing job. He responds really quickly. I mean, he is very short to the point. It's very clear and concise, which I appreciate. So that's just the update on that. I know they finished another group. I don't know.
Oh, they did Lake Parks.
Yeah. Has he said anything about hours?
He said something, I think, in planning board that he thought it would go to them, I thought, in like November. It was fairly soon.
And then I did speak to him about, could we have a meeting to sit down and talk about getting back into the comp plan, and how could he guide us, and he said he wanted to sit down and kind of see where we are. Well, we're at the beginning, except for the maps we've paid. Those are the two things that we've done. So I hopefully we'll talk to Vaughn before the next council meeting, and kind of present a proposal for getting started up to work, whether that be us in the work or them have, maybe a couple options for getting the comp plan done. Any questions? Update on changes to the operating procedures.
I don't think so. One of the items I heard today is North Carolina is one of 5 states that's had a 50% increase in the number of cases this week or last week compared to the prior week. And it's going up in 31 states. So, and it's flu season, which is flu shots. see no reason to let up right now. I think business is going along just fine. I think everybody's overly busy, so.
You wanted to ask about your meetings. You don't want to?
No, they want to stick to one meeting.
All right, so we'll stay.
Okay.
Okay, it'll be my council comment. So, do you want to go first?
I had a meeting last Monday. I went to the Board of County Commissioners meeting. Got up and spoke at the podium 3 separate times in front of the county commissioners. One opposing the Epcon property going in on Billy Howie. The 115 homes that was originally proposed, Epcon saw a lot of pushback from county commissioners, from residents. They tried to water down the project, and they changed it from 115 homes to 85 homes, hoping that that would appease the people complaining about high density. I also spoke to Richard Helms one-on-one after the fact. He said he was not in favor of promoting that senior housing project. I answered a lot of questions for Stoney Rushing, who was not aware of how we ended up with senior housing in Wesley Chapel to begin with. There was a lot of discussion about this is not on the borders of Wesley Chapel, which is what we've been complaining about in the past, that this is smack dab in the middle of Wesley Chapel. So there was a lot of back and forth conversations about that. Additionally, David Williams, who is going to be probably our next county commissioner, he got up and spoke as well against the project, stating it was inconsistent with the community. So there was a lot of pushback to Epcon, even though they decided to reduce the number of units on the property. There was residents there that spoke. David Caphammer got up and spoke against the project. Happens to be in his immediate backyard because he lives in the estate section of Wesley Oaks. Now he objects. Before he didn't have a problem with it. So that was one of the things I spoke at the podium for. The other one was the corner of Antioch Church and Waxahachie Trail Road, which was originally proposed as a gas station. The biggest opponent to that would be Francisco Espinoza, who owns Nina's Market. He does not want to see a competition literally 100 yards away, so his big concern was that it was going to be developed as a gas station. The owner of the property offered to put a deed restriction on the property so that it wouldn't be a gas station, as long as he got the zoning through. But at the same time, what he didn't realize is the people from 7-Eleven have been coming in and talking directly to Francisco Espinoza and Nina's Market, saying that as soon as the zoning changes, they're going to buy the property and put a gas station there. There has been a lot of pushback from their planning and zoning department. There's been a lot of pushback from the county commissioners, but with the stipulations of hours of operation, what will or will not be allowed there, how far it's going to be from the road, what kind of buffers are going to be between the neighborhood and the potential commercial property. There's a good chance that next Monday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the Board of County Commissioners get together again. They're officially going to vote on this, and it has a good chance of passing. I hope it does not, but at the same time, I think we're going to see a basic making switch here. They're going to change the zoning from R40 residential to something that will be akin to a shopping center type situation. And again, you have a discussion of how many buildings, the layout of the buildings, there's a lot of pushback on that. But at the same time, the guy just wants to sell property at 7-Eleven, and 7-Eleven changed the zoning to include a gas station in the store. So DOT's already looked at it. That was the second issue. And the one point that residents who live directly behind that property said, look, the guy that used to own all of this property specifically put the houses in first, let me buy a house that backed up to this other property, told me that it was residential, told me that it would always be residential, and now the same guy that owned the initial plot of land is changing the zoning on this to put in a gas station. And she said, he purposely did this in this order so that I would buy my house thinking there would be residential behind me. Now I'm going to be looking at a gas station. So there's a lot of public pushback. Spoke to Richard Helms about this also after the fact, and a lot of this is a buddy of mine, he's a good guy, blah, blah, blah. He deserves to have this property. So it looks like it's going to happen, what the residents said. When I the card I try to play is there have been multiple meetings about the property, there have been multiple meetings, residents coming forward and saying, where are all the people who are in favor of this zoning change? Other than the developer, not a single person has stepped forward and said that they were in favor of this zoning change with or without the restrictions. And he didn't have anything to say to that. So we'll know at 3 o'clock next Monday where we're at with that situation. The last time I got to the podium and spoke was not related to any specific property, but it was more related to our conversation that we had at the Ag Center when we had a group meeting last month when all the municipalities were invited. And I sat down with Amanda, and I sat down with Stephen Rushing, who informed us that he does not trust any of his staff. He doesn't trust the public works directors, he doesn't trust planning and zoning people, and that he specifically doesn't trust the people that are hired by public works as consultants, outside consultants, and that Stony Rushing has no control over the development that happens in Union County. And I said, how, as a county commissioner, do you feel that you have no control over what happens in this county? So my comment at the podium was, instead of worrying about what's going on in this corner and what's going on in that corner, you should maybe take a few minutes, sit down with your fellow commissioners and figure out how to resolve that issue. And I was talking specifically to Stoney and to David Williams, who was sitting in the audience, that if you can't trust your own staff, I don't know how you plan on being productive in anything. And of course I used the old adage, house divided, which is a famous speech from Abraham Lincoln. And it was mostly directed at Stoney, a little bit about at David Williams, but I got an earful at the end of their meeting from Richard Helms, because he thought the comments were directed toward him. I talked to him a day later, and I said, no, my comments were more directed towards Stoney and to David Williams, but at the same time, if you don't think you have any problems, you need to talk to your staff, because they're all almost apathetic sometimes to their saying one thing and doing another, or not listening to their advice as people with PhDs and 30 years of experience, and just doing whatever they feel is best without really having a good understanding of what their vote means. So like I said, I made some friends. So I think that was it.
All right, after the next. I spoke with Bob Stones today. They said they understand the nature of their, but they do have an application to get up to us or in process of us. But they are doing a series called What is the Church For? And it was explained to me as everyone knows what the church is against. They're doing a series to explain what the church is for, and they are for the community. And so there's a 2-week period in November 15th or November 22nd. There's like 2 weeks where they're going to help out locally in Waxhaw, Weddington, and Wesley Chapel. They're also in March, they're going to have one big serve day where they're serving all around the community. But they were hoping, since it is a broad Waxhaw, Weddington, Wesley Chapel area, that they would be able to partner with us in some way. They're looking to partner or to help out others at some of the schools. And I did put them in touch with Wesley Chapel Elementary School's principal and guidance counselor. But at some of the schools, I'm assuming it was Waxhaw, they were going to clean trails and put in mulch. For the Waxhaw, they also are going to clean the historical landmarks and work in their parks. They have been connected with a few residents in the different communities, including Weston Chapel. They are going to be going in and doing home projects like painting. And they wanted to know if this was an idea we would entertain or what ideas we might have. And I said, well, we have one claim to fame, and that's art. So I said, we have a council meeting tonight, I will bring it up.
Can I give some background on for David and Ward, who may or may not know what's going on? From history. Five Stones had started off as a neighborhood small community church. And they built a church that's this big. And they've already gotten pre-approval without even going through us to make the church a little bit bigger. That's already in their plans. The issue came up was when they had the public meetings 6-8 months ago before COVID started. Robin had convinced them that if they wanted to add a school to their campus and buy property next door to incorporate that campus, their church is going to go from this big to this big, and then over here there's going to be a school. Robin had convinced them to put anything and everything on the conditional use permit, and it went from this big of a church to this mega church with things that they're not going to do for 20 years, but it was all on the plan, and I think it scared a lot of the neighbors. And most of the neighbors said, basically, what happened to the little neighborhood church that was supposed to be going in here? Now you've got this mega church, and I don't want to live next to a mega church. And that was their comment back in February, I think it was when we had those meetings. So that's a little bit of history of as far as what they're doing. I also had made comments to both Amanda and John that we would welcome Five Stones to come and participate, but if we've got a potential vote on a zoning change or anything for Five Stones Church, we have to be careful that we don't accept certain gifts or whatever if we're going to turn around and be voting on a zoning change for them in a very short period of time. So, do I think my vote will be swayed one way or the other if they send a couple of guys over to the park to help us move some gravel? Not to change my vote, but at the same time, I think it could potentially send the wrong message to the public that may or may not want us to vote one way or the other. So, keep that in mind as you move forward.
Well, I could direct him to John. I can tell him your application's pending. I don't care. I'll deliver it on.
Well, what we told Five Stones for the last volunteer day that we ended up canceling was we're having a volunteer day, and anyone who would like to volunteer can come, but we're not specifically going to say this is a Five Stones Church volunteer day so that it wouldn't be perceived as inappropriate.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
There's a lot of community agencies that I'm sure would appreciate help. Things like, the senior agency in Monroe and the domestic violence and stuff. I'm sure there's people in Wesley Chapel that are served through those agencies that they know where the needs are. We don't really have big needs that on the top of our plate.
That thing about where they want to reach out to individual homes or situations, I think that would be great if they could get it. We don't have that information, but I think that's a great idea to say, maybe contact these agencies for residents who might could use your help that we're just not aware of. Because we would love for them to get that help.
We specifically discussed that property just down the street that had the car in the front yard for 6-8 months. We said that would be a great use of church group, volunteer days, whatever. Our plan was to go in, not take anything off the property, not remove anything, but just keep everything from the front yard to the backyard, behind the gate, behind the fence. And that would have, I think, solved 95% of the problem, but we never got the...
I'm not talking about cleaning out an asphalt. I'm talking about senior citizens, individuals that are disabled, that just are really on hard times. That,
I think Five Stones already does like a food pantry, things like that on their site. If you're looking to do something more away from the church, out in the community.
Right, but we don't know if there's anybody that, I don't know anybody that can say, hey, I know there's some people in need, but to Cheryl's point, there's some agencies that probably do. No?
Due to time, I'll keep my short for a couple of other things.
No, I want to say about Bible talk first.
Oh,
All right.
I think Cuthbertson Road is a crazy road already, and I think that would probably be the thing that would determine my vote more than anything else, is how much more of an impact it's going to have on that road on a day-to-day basis.
But I mean, what should I tell them about? They're asking, Wesley Chapel has they can help out.
Okay, as long as it's not a Five Stones only event.
Is it a 5-star school? Okay.
As long as they understand that it's not.
Which is why I was in there to give the individual houses, it's not really, we don't care who does, or what they do.
All right, you're next.
My comments?
Yes, sir.
The 6 years I served on the planning board, regardless of the planning and zoning administrator that we had, regardless of the number of times that we went back and forth with the developers, with how far apart street lamps were, how big the cluster mailbox was, regardless of how many times we went back and forth about the diameter of the cul-de-sac, or any other number of things. The one complaint that always came back was our tree save ordinance. I'm elated that we're within hopefully a couple of months of seeing something addressed on that. Not so much as the fairness or the developers that are complaining about that, but more so for consistency on our end and making a development usable within the confines of the way the land's laid out now, instead of trying to reinvent it and make the land suitable all over again. I think as a council, we need to encourage the planning board to have that on our desk by no later than the first of the year.
Even though it may not be 100% perfect.
I think if it's close enough that we can work with, that's better than what we have.
And I'll try to reach out to them and say, council's feeling is that don't focus, like Bob said, they can approve the tree save ordinance for major subdivisions now, and then later, they can get into the weeds about the other stuff, but give us all we need now. And I'll try to communicate that to them tomorrow. And that we want an ASAP. Thank you. Lauren?
We already talked about proposed start, October 15th, early voting starts. There's some different polling locations open. There's a lot on the ballot because of how North Carolina lines up all their state offices of the presidential election, as well as the judiciary. So lots of things to look at. So take advantage of all the materials and information that's out there to know the candidates, and you can select the candidates of your choice, but more importantly, make sure that you vote. And given some of the things I've seen on the news in some places that are already have early voting, people are getting out early, lines are already forming even in early voting. So don't wait and get stuck in a line that goes to deadline on election day. I stood in line 9 years.
Still on 9 years.
I mean, 9 hours.
9
9
hours.
hours. For those several years ago.
Well,
Make it full of
I think it's
we do have a resident expert when it comes to voting in Wesley Chapel. John over there has been doing all of the background and training, and will actually be working polling places.
I'm working all early voting. I'm working election day from 5:30 to 10:30 at night. I'm going to be one of the election election judges.
Thank you.
Isn't it awesome?
We ran into some people at the park that had basic questions and, how could it be manipulated? Can I show up? Can I mail in my ballot and then also show up and vote and make it count? Well, I understand that. But John was telling us, informing us of the safeguards against all of that.
I was very, very impressed, especially with the safety procedures they have in place, the COVID-related procedures. Even down, Mike said, well, what if you touch the pen? I'm like, instead of getting an I voted sticker, you're going to get a commemorative presidential 2020 single-use pen to fill out your ballot with, and you'll take that. Because nobody wants to touch a sticker and put a sticker on you that you touched. So you're going to get your own pen, nobody else has touched, and that's going to be your I voted.
Well, when I went to the primary to vote, right, I'm going to pull out my pen. She goes, no, you can't use your pen. You have to use our pen. I go back there with the big stick pen. I'm like, seriously?
There's so many procedures. And even if you don't want to walk into the building and you have a legitimate medical reason, you can vote from your car at curbside. And the legitimate medical reason is my doctor says I should not be exposed because I'm in the high-risk group. And then you can vote from your car.
So there's a long line.
You have a valid medical reason.
And the other thing I noticed on primary voting, early voting, was I was on 10 o'clock because I thought that'd be a good time. Every retired senior citizen in the area was there.
One more thing about stuff. I did the last communications committee meeting and Deb did it today. We did post your very last time to take the survey. And Cheryl, when you send it to the Sunshine List, we can make sure you include the link. Because Deb had to edit that in.
Okay. I was waiting to see, anyway, she had sent an early draft and I was waiting for an
She
update.
posted it on Facebook. I had asked her to send it to you, but she forgot to put the links and she was trying to edit it. But Facebook could be weird.
But don't say that it closed in July.
Well, I mean, I told her to take that part out. I think it's on there though. But we will close it or be done by the end of October, so we will be ready to move forward with that comp plan. This just gives everybody that last chance, and then hopefully we can have Bob's group evaluate it and move forward. Do we have a motion to close?
Oh, one last thing. I just got an email from Amy. The Parks and Rec meeting is it officially moved from the 21st to the 22nd? From 22nd to the 41st?
Amy's trying to figure that out. I'm working polling station on the evening of our date, so we were trying to move it. I gave them the option of having the meeting without me or moving it, and it looks like the 21st was the date most people could do it. So Amy's trying to figure all that out.
Until the chair makes a decision, it hasn't been made.
Okay. I haven't made a decision yet.
I just want council to know that the date could potentially change.
Thanks, everybody.
I shall be accepting all the votes and processing.
Thank you much, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Everybody in favor?